It's going to pop up there too.
I think it's going.
Yeah.
Is it?
Good morning.
Welcome to Kensho Quest. Today we're doing a live Q&A about riding public transportation in Japan. I'm Heidi.
I'm George.
Here on Kensho Quest, we share a lot of advice for traveling in Japan. We've been digital nomads or long-term travelers for 16 years now, and Japan is one of our favorite destinations. We try to go at least once a year and stay for up to 3 months.
Sometimes
You
longer.
have a reverb. Can you?
Oh, do I have reverb? I must be too close.
No. It's bouncing back,
It's
whatever
bouncing
I
back.
say. Tech issues, just a second here.
Can you guys hear us okay? Can someone put in the chat if there's any echo that you're getting on your end?
It's playing back whatever I say, so can you turn off something here?
Can you guys hear us okay? Can someone put in the chat if there's any echo that you're getting on your end?
Can you let us know in the chat box if you can hear us and where you're joining us from?
Sorry, we think there might be some echo going on. We're not sure, so we want to make sure everyone can be okay. Just lost the sound. Here you just.
Can you let us know in the chat box if you can hear us and where you're joining us from?
Yes, we can hear. Sorry, we think there might be some.
There is an echo.
Okay. We're not sure, so we want to make sure everyone can be okay. Just lost the sound. All right. Hearing echo.
Yes.
All right.
We're going to try to fix that echo for you. Just a second.
1 second. Sorry.
You must have it playing somewhere on here, right?
Test, test, test. Can you guys still hear us okay?
Do you
Okay.
hear us now?
I think. Okay. All right.
Okay.
We'll start over.
All right, let's start from the beginning. We're having technical issues there. Welcome to Kensho Quest. Today we're doing a live Q&A about riding public transportation in Japan. We're going to start off with some questions that were submitted before the live, and then we'll move over to your questions. So feel free to put your questions into that chat box, and we will get to them. Also, this will be recorded, and you can watch it afterwards on our channel. Should I go ahead and start?
Yep.
Okay, the first topic we're going to be covering today is IC cards. So George is going to start out with some background information about IC cards.
Okay, so we get this question a lot, so we thought we would just start from the basics to make sure this is very clear to everyone. So what is an IC card? IC cards are these rechargeable contactless payment cards, commonly used for transportation, actually mostly for transportation, but also for shopping in Japan. They provide a convenient, cashless way to pay for trains, buses, subways, also for goods and services at some stores and vending machines, and especially at convenience stores too. But usually the ones that are closer to the stations is where you're going to get more functionality out of them.
The main purpose of them is to pay for public transportation.
Yes, and that's definitely what we want to be stressing here, is that they are super duper useful to have. And these two that you see on the screen, the Suica and the Ikoka cards, are the most popular ones in Japan. However, it really doesn't matter so much which card you have, because they all work really well. So let me show you here. This one here, this is a graphic I took from JR East. Anyways, it shows you all the different cards throughout Japan. So most people are flying into the Tokyo area, and if you are, the cards are the Suica and the Pasmo. If you're flying to Osaka, it is the Ikoka card, which again Heidi just showed you a second ago. We'll show you that to you again, because many people are also flying into Osaka. But if you're also flying into places like Fukuoka, Nagoya, or even Sapporo, don't worry. Whichever card you get, it's going to work pretty much throughout Japan. And the reason why is that these cards, with the exception of Pasmo, there's a couple others, most of them are issued by JR. And so all of the 6 JR companies work together. Now, there are some times that you might run into issues. Maybe Heidi can explain a little bit about that.
Basically, wherever you fly into in Japan, you can get your card there, then later you can use it throughout Japan. The only time you might encounter an issue is if you start a particular train journey and you're within one of these regions, and while you're still on that train journey, you cross into a different one of the regions, and then you try to tap out at the train station. If the gate makes a little beep and it doesn't let you through, you just tell the attendant at the train station, hand them your card, they'll put it on this little reader thing and they'll straighten it out for you. So you can buy a card in Osaka, use it later in Tokyo. You can buy a card up in Hokkaido, in Sapporo, Japan, use it later in Tokyo. It's not usually going to be an issue, and if you do cross one region on your train trip, just have the staff at the train station straighten it out for you.
Yep. So that's usually all it is. Usually what they'll do is they'll take your card, they'll tap it, they'll like reprogram it or something, and then like magic, it'll work again.
Okay. So don't worry too much at this point, just get whichever one you can get.
That's right. So how do you get an IC card? So right now, many of you already know, especially there's tons of videos out there saying that there's no IC cards, there's no Suica cards. Well, we don't think you really need to worry about that because everywhere you go in Japan, there's a different type of card. So again, the most popular place that you will be arriving is either Tokyo or Osaka. Again, in Tokyo, there is no regular Suica or Pasmo cards. So this card is not available, the regular one. However, the one that you see on the screen, the center one, the Hello Kitty one, is called a Pasmo Passport, and that is available, and so is the Welcome Suica card in Tokyo. So if you are flying into Haneda Airport, you can either get the Welcome Suica or the Pasmo Passport, only at Haneda Airport. This is very important, okay, because there's a huge shortage of these cards in the Tokyo area. If you are flying into Narita, the only card you can currently get is the Pasmo Passport, okay? So afterwards, we'll put some links in below where you can find where you can get these, because there are specific locations within the airports where you can get them.
And it's also changing constantly because of the shortage, so this information gets outdated quickly if you want to look for the most current information.
Right. So, you know, if a video comes out saying, hey, Suica cards are available again, I would take that with a grain of salt, because I visited different ticketing offices in Japan over the last 3 months and asked several times, and every single time they told me they did not have cards available, even though there were videos coming out saying that they were available. So don't count on getting any regular Suica or Pasmo cards in Japan currently. However, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say the main difference with these tourist cards, the Welcome Suica and the Pasmo Passport, they are temporary. So they're good for up to 28 days. They expire after those 28 days. You'll lose any money that you still have on the card, so you want to use up most of your balance within that time. A regular Suica, you can come back to Japan within the next 10 years and it will still work. These Welcome Tourist ones, they are only good for 28 days.
Yes, and again, just to stress that, you can't come back and use it again for another 28 days. They're completely dead after 28 days. Okay, so I don't want to get ahead of myself, so bring that up later. So again, that was a really good point that Heidi mentioned, that the Welcome Suica and Pasmo Passport are for tourists and good for 28 days only. If you are staying longer, you could get more than one if you wanted to. Just get it later. Don't get them at the same time, because as soon as you purchase them, they are activated. All right. Now, if you are going into other regions, before I go there, I forgot to mention also that the Pasmo Passport is going to be discontinued, unfortunately. That is going to happen in August of 2024 this year. We don't know if there will be a replacement for that. So just hang on. If you're going to be coming to Japan around that time, you know, we'll figure something out by then. In the meantime, you can, if you're flying into other parts of Japan, the Ikoka card is widely available in the Osaka area. I highly recommend, if you're flying to Osaka, get it at the airport as soon as you arrive.
If I can add one more thing here, also another type of card you can still get is a child Suica card. So if you want your child ages 6 to 11 years old to have their card, which charges them half the amount of an adult price, you can go into a ticketing office, bring their passport, and get them an actual registered child Suica card, which will have their name printed on it. It will be indicated that it is for a child, and that one is still available.
Yes, and we highly recommend it if you have a child between the age of 6 and 11, because you're going to save 50% on every time you ride the train or bus, wherever it's accepted. All you need to do, did you mention this? She may have mentioned this already, but you just need to bring your child's passport with you to the office, and you fill out a really short form.
And that is only a physical plastic card. That is not a digital one.
Yes, it is not available in the digital form.
Okay, can we move on to the next section?
All right. So, can I get a digital IC card?
Yes, so if you have an Apple phone, or it may work if you have an Android that was purchased in Japan. But mostly if you have an Apple phone, then through Apple Wallet, there are 3 options. There's the Suica, the Pasmo, and the Ikoka. I personally have the Pasmo, and I've never had any issues with translation or anything like that. If you ever have issues on your phone with things not translating into your language, make sure that you've set language to English and region to United States. I've heard some people having issues with the digital Suica being in Japanese. Pasmo, it's worked perfectly on my phone. I have it linked to my Apple Card, which is a MasterCard that I can use to top up my digital one. We didn't want to top it up with my Visa card because it might have been treated as a cash advance. If you're not sure which credit card to use with it, you can just contact your credit card and find out ahead of time. Also, the digital versions can be topped up with cash at a machine, so you can set your phone into the machine and then add actual cash onto your phone if you need to do it that way as well. But the big advantage, what's really nice, is being able to top it up on the go with a credit card. So if you have an Apple phone, that is the first thing that I would do if you have an iPhone, is just get the digital one in advance before you head to Japan. You won't have to worry about trying to get a physical one. If you have a kid, you'll need to get them their own physical card.
Correct. Again, just to reiterate that, there are no digital IC cards for kids. Not yet.
Okay, so first step, digital IC card, you'll be all set.
Yes. And as far as charging it, as she mentioned, what's really one of the beauties of it is you can charge it anywhere. Sometimes Heidi's card is low and she'll charge it right at the gate when it beeps at her. So
yeah, if I don't have enough balance at the gate, I can just charge it then.
Yeah.
Or if I'm trying to pay for something else like admission to some places, we'll accept IC card. And if he didn't charge his IC card, his won't work, but I can just charge mine while I'm standing in line.
Oops.
Okay, moving on.
Oops, sorry. So how do you charge an IC card? So Heidi just explained with the digital card. With the regular IC card, there are multiple places. The easiest place will be right at the station, usually right next to the gate. On the wall, there will be either ticketing machines or ones that will say charging machines. So you have your choice there. Other places you can charge it include 7-Elevens. Almost every single 7-Eleven that is near a station, you can charge your cards there as well. You can either do it at the ATM, they'll have ATM machines that you can charge them on the ATM machines, or sometimes you can even do it at the register. If you're not sure, you can even just ask the employee. But pretty much any 7-Eleven next to a station is going to work. And sometimes that's so much easier because it's usually less crowded than doing it at the station. Now, oftentimes as well, this happens to me a lot because I'm a cheapskate, is I forget to put money on my IC card and I just have enough to go through the gate. So as long as you have a minimum amount, and it just depends on where you're going, you can go through the gate. If it's zero, the chances are you're not going to go through the gate. But as soon as you go through the gate and you get to your destination, let's say you even change your destination, you went somewhere a little farther and you go through and you try to tap out and it beeps at you. If that happens, that is just saying you didn't have money on your card. So all you need to do is just back up, and usually you will see a charging station very nearby that says, what is it usually called? Fare adjustment. It's called fare adjustment. You usually see a fare adjustment machine very close to the gate. If you don't see that, just go right up to the gate, and on the side there's always an attendant there who can charge it for you right there. Okay, let's...
Somebody says your microphone is being muffled. Is that yours?
Is it me? Sorry. This is a...
IC card for Android, only if your Android phone was purchased in Japan.
Okay, so I know there's a little bit of a delay, but can you hear me okay now? Sound is very garbled. Is it me or her, or both of us?
And I don't know if there's any way to get any money refunded back off of a digital IC card. I think once you put it on there, it's just there, but I haven't researched that.
Okay, hopefully the sound is better now. Please let us know if it is continued.
We're still
It was getting stuck on my shirt.
Garbled. Let us know if it sounds okay going forward. Can you say something again?
It's better now? Okay. Thank you, and sorry for that. If it continues, I'm just going to disconnect it and put it on the table here. So let's see. Okay.
Okay, moving on.
All right. So that pretty much covers the basic questions on IC cards. Hopefully that really makes sense. Now, one of the big questions we also continue to get regarding IC cards is, do I even need an IC card? And we would say yes. It really depends on where you're going in Japan. If you come to Japan, like say with a JR Pass or something like that, the JR Pass will cover most forms of transportation, but not everything. And the chances are you're going to be riding multiple types of transportation. And this includes most likely non-JR forms of transportation. So when you have the JR pass, it only covers riding on JR trains, buses. So this is where the IC card is going to come in, because when you're in a city like Tokyo or Osaka, there's a combination of JR trains as well as other companies such as KQ and Odakyu. There's just a lot of them. So by having the IC card, it's really nice. You just tap and you can go through, and you don't need to worry about, what is the cost of the transportation from point A to point B. So,
for instance, the metro in Tokyo is not JR. You would pay for that with an IC card. If you really absolutely cannot get an IC card, you can buy individual paper tickets at a ticketing machine for each of your train journeys. It's possible to do, it's just more time consuming.
Yes.
He's always in a rush. He likes the convenience of just tap and go and not have to take the time to purchase a ticket.
right. So, but I mean, we've spoken with a few tourists, about this, and they were perfectly fine just purchasing individual tickets. So if you're at a leisurely pace, then no problem. But if you're like me, well, try to get an IC card.
Okay, do we have another question queued up?
Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and start answering some questions for you. We'll start with questions that we received in advance. So what is the status of the Suica and Passmo cards and IC? We have already mentioned this, but again, they are not, the regular ones are not available at all right now. So if you're flying into Tokyo, try to get the Welcome Suica or the Passmo Passport. Those are available, again, only in limited places. And if you cannot, then try doing the digital one.
Next question.
All right. Where can I buy a Welcome Suica or Passmo Passport card? Again, these are only available at the airports right now. If you are flying into Narita, you can only get the Passmo Passport. It is available at the airport there. Again, I'll leave links on the bottom where you can specifically get those at Narita Airport. If you're flying into Haneda, you have the option of getting both the Passmo Passport and the Welcome Suica card. Can 2 or more people share an IC card? Heidi will answer this one.
This is one of the most frequently asked questions we've received recently, especially since we mentioned about digital IC cards. No, 2 or more people cannot share the same IC card when you're using it for transportation. If you want to use an IC card to get a drink from a vending machine, to buy something at 7-Eleven, that's fine, you can share the card. If you're using your card for transportation, each person needs to have their own card. And this is because the way the system tracks the distance you're traveling is when you enter a train station, you tap in with your IC card. When you get to your end destination, you tap out with your IC card. So it needs one person tapping their card at their starting place, tapping their card at their ending place. You cannot have 2 different people using the same card, because if you tap it once and then you hand it to somebody else to tap it again, the system's just going to beep at you. No, that doesn't work. So everybody has to have their own separate IC card to use for transportation.
All right. Can I get a digital IC card for my child? Again, the answer is no. I double asked this question recently, and they said, no, sorry, not available at this time. So only physical child IC cards, which again are pretty easy to get. We are slow traveling, spending a month at a time in places like Shizuoka, Osaka, Fukuoka. Do we still need IC cards, or do we purchase as we go? Do you want to answer? No? Okay. I would say you still need an IC card, and the reason why is because every place you go to, there's going to have, again, different types of transportation companies. And the good thing is that pretty much all of the transportation companies accept IC cards. So it just makes it so easy, especially like if you're riding a bus. Now, we just came back from Kawaguchiko, where it was unbelievable, but we couldn't believe that most people taking those buses were paying by cash.
And they often did not have small change, did not have the correct payment available. If you're going to take a bus and pay by cash, you need to have small coins, you need to have the exact fare. The bus is not going to issue you back, so you might have to have 230 yen and insert that on your way out of the bus. So it is so much easier to use an IC card for things like buses. So think of any local transportation, subways, metros, local trains, local buses. You're going to be paying by an IC card. It'll be much easier than paying cash.
Yeah, and it's going to save you time too, because this is actually one of the things that slows down local transportation is people paying by change. And I mean, we do it sometimes too. Sometimes you forget, but if you have the IC card, it really makes it easier.
Your mic is okay now.
Yeah, it's right here in the center.
For Shinkansen or limited express trains, can we pick up our tickets in advance? Yes, so we've been doing a series of videos explaining different ways that you can purchase Shinkansen or limited express tickets online. And if you've already bought your tickets online, then once you're within a month of your travel date, you can go to a ticketing machine at the train station and have your tickets printed out there.
Yeah, and this is across the board. So whenever you are buying any of these type of Shinkansen or limited express trains, again, as long as is within that 30 days, I'm just reiterating what Heidi said, you can go to any of those ticketing machines and pick it up from anywhere in Japan. It doesn't matter where you're traveling. Especially as long as you can find that company's ticket machine, then you can pick it up.
I think this ties into the next question we have.
Which is?
Oh, okay, maybe not. Can I throw something else in there?
Sorry.
Also, if you want to make any changes to that ticket, as soon as you've picked up the physical ticket from the machine, you can also reinsert it back into the machine and make changes, such as changing the date of your travel or changing your seat reservation number. Okay, so now moving on, do you have a preference to sit in the front, middle, or back of the cars to allow for faster exit? If your goal is faster exit, then I would recommend sitting at the front of the car. For us, we're never trying to be the first one off the train since we have kids. But if you are riding a Shinkansen, as soon as it announces Mamanaku and says that your stop is the next stop, you're already supposed to get your bags, proceed to the door, and wait at the door for it to stop. So by the time it even stops, you should already be lined up at the door waiting to get off. And this is because Shinkansen bullet trains may only stop for 1 minute at their station. Yeah, 59 seconds, because he got off the Shinkansen and I wasn't sure if he was going to get back on in time. So there's going to be a line at the door anyways. You're all going to exit as soon as the train stops.
Yeah. I don't think so. Because of that, I don't really think it's a big deal where you sit. You just, like Heidi said, it's going to tell you your stop is the next one. Get ready to get off. Because if you don't, it's going to go.
Okay, next question.
All right. Oh, sorry.
That was a repeat there. Okay. I have purchased a Hida Limited Express ticket going to Takayama. I changed my itinerary and will go to Takayama the next day instead. How do I make a change? So we've shown this in some of our recent videos. I think it was the video on purchasing your Shinkansen tickets on Klook where we showed using a ticketing machine. So there's an option to say, change my train reservation, and you will actually insert your ticket into the ticket machine, and then you can at that time change it. You want to make sure you do this ahead of your scheduled travel date. You don't want to let your scheduled travel date pass and then your ticket's already expired. But as long as you're doing this ahead of time, once you're within that 30 days of your trip and you have your paper ticket, you can just go ahead and use a ticketing machine to make those kind of changes.
Yes. Just don't do it at the very last minute, because there is a certain amount of period of time, like a few minutes, that if you don't do it, then it's too late. But what
I'd say do it a few days in advance.
Yes,
but yeah,
if you can.
Don't try to do it within 4 minutes of your train, or it won't let you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Okay. I have a JR Pass and make a reservation for returning to Tokyo, but plans changed. I decide to get off at Yokohama for a couple hours instead. Will I be able to get back on a non-reserved train to return to Tokyo using my pass? Yes, this is the beauty of the JR Pass. It is the one thing, if you have either the whole Japan Rail Pass or a regional JR Pass, that really allows you that hop-on, hop-off privileges that you can just do what you want. So when you have a JR Pass and you're riding Shinkansen non-reserved, you can just hop on any non-reserved Shinkansen if that Shinkansen has non-reserved cars. There are some Shinkansen which only have reserved seats, such as the Hayabusa and the Kagayaki. So those ones you would have to make a reservation. But even with the JR Pass, if you change your route, then you can just go ahead and use the ticket machine to change your seat reservations. But if you don't have a seat reservation, you're going non-reserved, hop on any non-reserved cars you want anytime. That is the beauty of the JR Pass.
And again, that's not just the JR Pass, but any regional pass. And
JR regional pass.
Yes, JR regional passes, and there's a ton of them. So we're starting to realize the more that we ride the trains that this makes the cost of these passes worth it in many cases, just because you can hop on and hop off anywhere, anywhere Whereas when you buy an individual single journey ticket, as soon as you get off, it doesn't matter. Let's say you're going from Tokyo to Kyoto, but halfway down your trip you said, you know what, I want to stop in Nagoya just for a couple of hours. Well, if you did that and you tried to get back on the train, guess what? You can't. Your ticket is no longer valid. You have to buy another ticket from Nagoya to Kyoto. So again, the beauty of the passes, JR passes or JR regional passes, hop on and hop off at any time on any unreserved train. And even if you have enough time, it is possible you could reserve a seat as well if they're available. Now, related to that too, what's really great is, I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but when you have a JR pass or regional pass, you can make a reservation at any time for no additional fee. So you cannot do that when you purchase single journey tickets.
Yes, I think there are still times and reasons that the JR Pass can still be worth it now, even at the increased price. It's really that flexibility that comes with it.
Right.
This says, buses can arrive later than the estimated time on Google Maps. From your experience, how late can the bus be? So in our experience, we've had buses run about 15 minutes late. Now, there's different types of buses. If you're taking what's called a highway express bus, one that's going a long distance from one city to the next, those tend to show up on time, so you need to be at the bus stop ahead of time, ready to get on your bus, because it will probably depart on the dot at the scheduled time. Now, if they run into traffic, it could end up running about 15 minutes late. We normally have experience of them being on time, though, so only if there's some really bad accident or something, maybe it would run late. Local buses, like if you're just riding a bus within a city, or recently we were in the Kawaguchiko area near Mount Fuji, those local buses did tend to run late. So if I was using Google Maps on my phone, it would tell me the bus is delayed 6 minutes, the bus is delayed 10 minutes. Sometimes it just kept going up. And Google Maps isn't always 100% correct, but it is good to be using when you are riding local buses, because sometimes there's the posted time schedule and the bus isn't coming, and then you might think, well, I must have just missed the bus. But if you have Google Maps open on your phone, you can check and see if it's really just that your bus is delayed. We've never had a bus be delayed like an hour or anything like that.
Is there a limousine bus service that will take you from Haneda Airport that will take you to Haneda Airport from the Ginza area? The answer is yes. I will leave a link below where you can go to the website. In fact, why don't I just show it to you real quick where you can see that. Just give me a second here. So this website right here, this is the limousine bus website for both Haneda Airport as well as Narita. And if I scroll down here a little bit, you can see down here they have this Hibiya Ginza Shiodome area that will take you directly to Haneda Airport. Now what's key is when you're using this website is it only works at certain times of the day, because a lot of these Japanese transportation websites, they go down at night. So if you are in the West Coast or in the Western Hemisphere, you may not be able to use it during certain times of the day. If you are in the Eastern time, like where we are, then it tends to work. So just take that into consideration, is it may not work late night Japan time.
Another note for these airport buses is that they do have a compartment for luggage, so there will be somewhere to put your suitcases if you're riding that type of a bus,
yes.
An airport bus. Airport limousine bus, they're called. Planning to visit Hakone this summer. I know the romance car is the best, but since I'll be staying in Ueno area, is it okay to take the Ueno-Tokyo line to Odawara, then switch the romance train or local train there without a reservation? Yeah, it's perfectly fine to take different transportation. I often recommend the romance car from Shinjuku, just because if we give one option, it's less confusing to people than giving a whole bunch of different options. But for your route, that sounds perfectly fine. Once you get to Odawara Station, I would just take the local train, because at that point it's not really worth upgrading to the Romance Car Limited Express train. It's only about 16 minutes on a local train from Odawara to Hakone Yamato Station. So that's perfectly fine to do. And if you are planning to get a Hakone free pass, which I highly recommend for the Hakone area, you could buy that in person at Odawara Station, and then at that point it would cover that local train ride to get the rest of the way to Hakone Yamato Station. Anybody going to Hakone, watch my videos about the Hakone free pass, because if you're doing the whole sightseeing loop through Hakone, it is really worth it to get that Hakone free pass. That is offered by Odakyu Railway. If you have a JR pass, it will only take you as far as Odawara Station, because at that point you're outside of the JR service area and you enter into the Odaku Railway area.
Yeah, and regarding the second part of your question, is 6-ish hours enough? Well, definitely, if you definitely get the Hakone free pass then, because the beauty with the pass is you don't have to buy individual tickets, and that will really slow you down when there's sometimes massive lines of people trying to buy tickets for these individual places, whereas if the pass, you just go right in. You just show your pass and you walk right through. So that will save you time. But as far as 6 hours?
If you mean 6 hours actually in the Hakone area, yes, I think that's enough. If you're counting 2 hours to get there, only having 2 hours and 2 hours to go back, then no, that's not enough. But 6 hours actually in the Hakone area, yes, I think that's enough.
Yeah, but definitely watch your video, because that will help you make sure that you can do that full loop in time. Because otherwise you can get stuck in places and that can slow you down. Right.
I'll be going to Kawaguchiko from Yokohama. It looks like the bus is quicker, but I generally prefer trains. Any advice on which way to go is better? This is an issue that once you get into either the Hakone area or closer to Mount Fuji, the Kawaguchiko area, it's mountainous area, so it's not often convenient to get from one nearby place to another by train. It tends to be more buses there, and then they're buses on windy mountain roads, so they're slow buses. So you often have two options, is to like leave the area, go back to Tokyo to get on a train, or to continue more directly on bus, which again can take slightly longer. So do you have a preference there?
So personally, I would take the train, because to me it's faster. I don't like the windy roads, and especially we have a son who gets motion sickness. So what you can do if you want to go from Yokohama is I would go to Shinjuku Station and then take the Fuji excursion from there to, sorry.
Can you say that again, just in case?
Yeah, you know what, let me just, I'm going to remove this.
Maybe just hold it.
Yeah, I'm going to hold it. So what I would do instead is I would go from Yokohama Station to Shinjuku Station and get on the Fuji excursion. Of course, if you were going to take the Fuji excursion, you need to purchase this at least 2 or 3 days in advance, because it always sells out. That is a super popular route. All right, and then that is the most smoothest route. If you want to take the bus, which you can, and it might even be faster, I'm not sure, is you would go from Yokohama to Odawara Station, and then you have to go through Hakone. Once you get to Hakone, it's going to be this windy path all the way until you get to, I think, Gotemba or something like that, where it kind of smooths out and you'll have to change. So also the difference with the buses is you're going to have to take multiple forms of transportation to go from Yokohama to Kawaguchiko if you want that more direct route. Whereas even with the train, you're going to have to change a couple times, but it's going to be more changing with the bus. And if you have a lot of luggage also, then maybe taking the train is going to be a better option as well.
So it seems kind of counterintuitive, but backtrack on the train, go back where you came from, then get on a train and go, because I think it is longer on the buses and not as pleasant of a ride.
But if you're a single person, just got a backpack, then the bus could be a good option.
We recently went through that area. We were coming from Kawaguchiko to Hakone to Yokohama, and we did take buses on that route. As a family of 5 visiting Japan for only 4 days, what is the best way to travel to the must-see attractions and areas in Tokyo? Would you recommend doing it by bus, train, guided tour, etc.? We are planning on joining a hop-on, hop-off tour that we found on Klook that will take us to various popular sightseeing areas in Tokyo. Is this a good idea, or do you have any other suggestions? As first-time visitors and only there for a few days, the hop-on, hop-off might be a good option for you. Our preference is to do individual travel, and we love the train system, so we would just take the trains or the metro to get around, and it's perfectly doable. But if you feel more comfortable with a package tour, you could go that way.
Yeah. So yeah, our preference is to do it ourselves. So I'm just going to speak more to that. This is where the IC card would really come in handy. Or what you can do is Klook also sells the metro passes, where I think they have like 3 or 4 days, right? Those are pretty good too. You can only ride the metro. However, depending on what you plan to do, it could cover your entire routes. So that is a good option for a lot of people actually coming to Tokyo, is look at those metro passes. We'll link to those in the description later on.
And if you want more information about that, we did a 24 hours in Tokyo itinerary where he spoke about the metro pass.
And if you guys have individual questions about certain things, just let us know in the comments below about these type of itineraries.
We tend to avoid the package type tours because they tend to be quite a bit more expensive than just taking public transportation.
Right.
You want to do this one?
If I can ask about the Alpine route, can we bring a carry-on luggage with us? So we tried to do some research on this, and there's no definitive answer, but this is based on our personal experience of taking different types of transportation, and in particular in the Tateyama Alpine area, is that they have different types of transportation. We have trains, so that's not going to be a problem if you have trains. If you're taking local buses, then it could be a problem. However, this is based on our experience, all local forms of transportation regarding buses is carry-on luggage, not a problem. However, once you start bringing on suitcases, then it can be a problem, as those tend to block the aisleways, and it can be really dangerous for people, and sometimes they won't even allow it. But carry-on, especially if you can put it on your lap, no problem.
Now, if you're taking something that's like an expressway highway bus, those have a luggage compartment. So local buses, you don't want to bring luggage on unless you can put it on your lap. Expressway highway type buses, you can bring luggage.
Yeah. But if you're just doing a loop, like for a day, you're just trying to get to one particular location, what you can do also is that pretty much all of the stations will have lockers where you can store your luggage. So that could be a good option for you as well if you're going to be doing a loop.
And we have videos all about that, how to store or ship your luggage in Japan. I plan to get a JR pass for my trip to Japan in the fall. I will be visiting Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, and Hiroshima. Will this cover my rail transportation to these areas fully, or will I need to get supplementary tickets in certain areas? So we kind of addressed this earlier. That will cover your Shinkansen bullet trains going from one city to the next. Sometimes when you're within a city and trying to do local transportation, not all of it is JR trains. So that's when it will also be good to have an IC card, or if you have to, you can pay for the local transportation in cash.
Now regarding, oh, okay, no, you already answered that. All right.
So we always recommend to have an IC card for your local transportation.
Okay, we got multiple questions.
Oh, these are not really on, these questions are not really on public transportation, so maybe we better skip ahead.
Yeah, we'll
I know this
answer
is
these later.
taking kind of long.
Or
We can
directly to you.
respond directly to your comment. Can you see this well enough to read?
Okay, thanks for hosting this Q&A. A few questions for you. We are going to Japan in July as a group of 11. Any tips for traveling with such a large group on the Shinkansen trains and buses? Let's just start with that first.
So this question has to do with the Smart EX, and if you have one account on Smart EX, how many people's tickets can you purchase on Smart EX?
You can purchase up to 6 people, and with those 6 people, each person can be, as long as they have an IC card, you can also use the IC card for up to 6 people on each account.
So in your situation, you're going to need to have at least 2 people having Smart EX accounts. One person can go ahead and buy 6 tickets and link those to separate IC cards. Another person can buy the other 5 tickets and link those to IC cards.
All right.
Okay, what do you recommend for navigating trains and buses? We do use Google Maps, and that's the primary way that we navigate. When I'm using buses, I also look at the printed schedule. I usually take a photo of the printed schedule and reference that. If you are using either the Whole Japan Rail Pass or a regional JR Pass, I do recommend getting the Japan Travel by Navitime app, because within that you can filter it to show which transportation is included within the particular pass you're using. But I really only use the Japan Travel by Navitime app if it's because we're using a regional or Whole Japan Rail Pass. Otherwise, we rely on Google Maps. And then there's a question about shipping your luggage using a service such as like Yamato Transport to Koroneko your luggage. What do you do if you're staying at an Airbnb? Because you can usually always have your luggage sent to a hotel, no problem, because the reception can receive it. We do stay a lot in Airbnbs, at least we have in the past, and the best option there is just to send your luggage to the nearest Yamato Transport office. So you can schedule to pick it up anytime within the next 7 days from when you shipped it. Just go ahead and do a search on Google Maps to see where the offices are located. We've always been able to find one fairly close,
Usually
easy
within
enough.
walking distance.
Usually walk one time.
They're so ubiquitous that, yeah.
Or take a Go taxi to get there, and then you can pick it up directly at the Yamato Transport office.
Right. Just when you go to the Yamato Transport office, make sure you tell them that you want to pick it up at the office, because then they put some codes specifically for that office to let them know that you will be coming there to pick it up at the office.
Okay. Yeah, each office has a certain code, so they put it on the form. Okay. This is a family with 3 kids. They have a specific itinerary, and then the questions are, is the JR Pass worthwhile given our travel? If yes, do we want the 7 days or 14 days. Okay, so this itinerary, looking through it real quickly, is starting in the Kansai area with places like Osaka, Nara, and Kyoto, going as far as Hiroshima, and then after that, going to Tokyo, being in the Tokyo and Mount Fuji area. So looking this over, getting the whole Japan Rail Pass at 50,000 yen for ordinary 7-day adult pass will probably not save you money on this trip. The first thing that comes to mind is the Kansai Hiroshima.
Yeah, Kansai Hiroshima
pull
area
that up?
pass. Yeah, let me try to pull that up for you so you guys can see that.
The whole Japan Rail Pass is usually beneficial when you are going to a different city almost every single night for those 7 days. So if you're just staying within the Kansai area, but you want to go as far as Hiroshima, then this Kansai Hiroshima area pass can get you around in that area for the days that you're there.
So as you can see, this goes all the way up to Tsuruga, but all the way down to Hiroshima as well. And it covers this entire Kansai area. So you can even come all the way down to Wakayama, up to Kyoto, Nara, this whole region. So this is a really great pass. And I think the price is really good too.
So this is 17,000. And then when you're ready to head to Tokyo, you can just buy an individual Shinkansen ticket. We have multiple videos on our channel about the different ways to buy that. And an ordinary reserved seat will be about 14,520 yen to get from Shin Osaka up to Tokyo. So if you add those two together, you're at a little over 31,000 yen for this regional pass plus a one-way Shinkansen ticket. And that's still less than the 50,000 for the 7-day JR Pass. Now, of course, if you just want absolute convenience, you could still opt for the JR Pass. Can you switch back over to their question? Once you start getting into the Mount Fuji area, that's no longer covered by JR Pass anyways, because once you get close to that area, you're into the Fuji-Q Railway. So I recently did a video explaining how you can use the Mount Fuji Pass, or if you don't want to get that pass, there's also local 1 or 2 day bus passes you can get. But once you're in Mount Fuji area, it's not JR. It will not be covered by a JR Pass anyways. So you don't really need a JR Pass for that part. And anytime you're just going around within Tokyo, that's when we would recommend using an IC card, or if you have to, just buying the paper tickets from the machine. But basically the JR Pass is if you want to be riding a Shinkansen bullet train pretty much every day for 7 days in a row. Okay, move on.
All right, so now we'll go ahead and move on to the questions that we're receiving right now.
And we do have a couple videos on this point already. We have one where you can figure out whether your itinerary, if it's worth it for you to get the JR Pass, and we also have a video where we explained how to travel Japan without a JR Pass, and in that one we go into these details of use an IC card for local transportation, consider getting a regional pass, and then when you're ready to leave that region, purchase an individual Shinkansen train ticket. So we also have a lot of videos on how to do that as well. So now we're going to move on to some of the questions that we're receiving right now here on the live. Somebody is asking if September 22nd to 27th is considered Silver Week. That's more a question for you. So I know all about Golden Week in April, May, but is there a Silver Week in September? Will the Shinkansen be more crowded than normal?
This is kind of embarrassing, but I don't even know what Silver Week is. However, it is not considered, if it is a holiday area, it is not considered one of the main holiday seasons, and we have definitely taken the Shinkansen in that. Can you tell us where you are planning to go? Because it really depends on where you're also going. So usually, if it's places where Japanese are going, then it could be a problem. If it is not, like if you're going the opposite direction, then that's usually not a problem. So for instance, last year we traveled during the most busiest time of year, which was during the end of New Year holidays. And most of the Japanese are going home, but we were going the opposite direction, coming from Sapporo to Tokyo, and we traveled on the 31st, which is definitely one of the busiest days of travel, but since we were going the opposite direction, it was not crowded at all on the Shinkansen, and we were easily able to reserve seats.
So the main times of years this season where it might be really crowded are Golden Week, right? End of April into May. There's also Obon season in August, and there's
The New Year holiday.
New Year, Christmas time.
Yeah.
Those are the
three
main
busiest
ones
times.
where you would really want to reserve your seats in advance because it could be very crowded. So do you? Okay, somebody doesn't like Google Maps. Do you want-
Understandably, yeah. Someone doesn't like Google.
you want
Let's.
click it or? I'm in Japan now and Google Maps sucks. Trains are super confusing. Sorry about that. Google Maps is what we use.
Yeah.
Yes, trains are super confusing and that's why we do what we do here,
Right.
trying to help explain them and make them a little bit
Right.
less confusing.
And certainly, yeah, Google Maps can be wrong at times. You can try using Navitime as well. Navitime is really better if you have a pass, but the information on there can be accurate as well. So sometimes we actually use it to compare the two, especially when we have issues.
And looking at the signage at the train station, often there are trains showing up overhead on those signs that are not on Google Maps. So trust whatever is displayed at the platform. That's going to be the most accurate information. And also asking the attendants at the train station. Like, he's made videos on how to navigate and get places in a train station, and then we show up there and we're lost, and we go to the information center and we ask them how to get where we're going, even though he's already made videos explaining to you how to get there. So don't be embarrassed if you get lost or you're confused. It is confusing. The staff is usually very helpful, and signage is also very good in the Japan train stations. We will travel to Japan early next month. We will travel to Tokyo, Osaka, then Sapporo, being the last stop, should we get the JR pass. Okay, so they did not say how long the trip is.
If you're doing that in 7 days, then absolutely 100% the JR pass is going to save you a lot of money doing that full route. If you cannot get from let's say Osaka all the way up to Sapporo within those 7 days, then it is probably not worth it. Unless you plan to stop along the way, because that's when the JR pass starts to make sense too, is as soon as you stop, then those are convinced, if you look at the individual price that's going to cost, it will usually pay for itself then at that point. But if you were just going from Osaka to Tokyo to Sapporo, and again, if you are doing that within 7 days, absolutely yes. If not within that 7 days, then probably no.
Because Sapporo is very far north. That's a very long distance to be going that far.
But we've done it. We've done that route within 7 days. You can certainly so let's say you have 2 weeks in Japan. You spent that first, 4 or 5 days in Osaka, then you went up to Tokyo for then you activated your JR pass, went to Tokyo, spent like 3 or 4 days, and on that last day, to make use of that 7 day, you arrive in Sapporo, then yes, please do it. It's absolutely worth it.
And we do have a video showing 2 different ways that you can calculate whether the JR pass is worth it for your particular route. How do you do this? I had no problem getting my Suica when I got into Narita. That's good to hear.
Perfect. That's great to know. Maybe you can let us know when that was, if that was recently or not. So that's super.
Okay, another one flew into Narita 2 weeks ago and got the Suica without any issue.
Okay, within 2. Okay, perfect. Thanks.
It's good to know, and that would be the welcome Suica they're referring to. We're planning to go to Kawaguchiko and Hiroshima first, then around Japan, finishing in Tokyo. Are iCoca cards readily available in Hiroshima? I have an Android phone. So do you know which one?
Where are you flying into Hiroshima? If you are, most likely, yes, that you can get an iCoca card. If not, I would just get whatever IC card is available in the area. Though the iCoca card does cover part of that area, you should be able to get it.
Yeah, and whichever card is offered that area, go ahead and get it, and then yes, you can use it again in other areas.
And this is the physical card. The Android phones do not. You can't get the digital ones.
Oh, but once you're in the Kawaguchiko area, yeah, you can still pay by IC card.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Is there digital IC card for Android? Which card will be refunded the remaining balance? Okay, so.
No, sorry. Only if your Android phone was purchased in Japan is the digital card available.
Otherwise, no. It's just on iPhone. But which one will be refunded? Between the Welcome Suica and the Pasmo Passport, one of them doesn't get refunded? I thought the other possibly did.
Really? I didn't think either of them did.
I'm not sure if there's a difference between those two, on the Welcome Suica or the Pasmo Passport on getting refunded.
So if you're going to get the Welcome Suica or the Pasmo Passport, I recommend you download the card reader app. I'll link to that in the description as well. That way you always know what your balance is, so you can try to make sure you use it all up if you can before you leave Japan.
Also, every time you tap it going through the ticket gate, it's supposed to show your balance on the little screen. Sometimes they're not functioning right, but normally you can see what your balance is. And a lot of people are worried about having extra balance on your card. What we do for that is just only charge it 2,000 or 1,000 yen at a time. use it for your daily transportation. If you end up with 1,000 yen left on your card, that's currently about $6.50 US, so it's not a huge deal if you end up with a few dollars balance left. And if you're about to leave and you want to use it up, you can use it at vending machines that accept IC cards, or go buy something in 7-Eleven and pay with your IC card. So as long as you don't put a huge balance on one of those tourist IC cards, it's not too big of a deal to finish off whatever is remaining on the card.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Go to the convenience store.
I wouldn't put $200 onto an IC card.
Yeah. Well, the maximum you can put is 20,000 on the IC card, anyways.
And then if you lose it, you lost all that money. So.
In regards to internet, can we just use our roaming, or do we have to buy a SIM card? Absolutely, you can use your roaming. I would just check and see, what the fees are. There's some good deals in the United States, like with T-Mobile, and I think AT&T even just launched one recently that's specifically, for international travel, that are pretty good. But if you're going to use a lot of data, then that's where, buying your own SIM cards can come into play and be very helpful. We have a lot of really good videos on that. So,
and before you leave your home country, contact your phone carrier and get put on an international plan. You don't want to just be hit with roaming fees outside of having a plan that's meant for international data.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. You absolutely want to do that.
So
don't just go on your trip.
an international plan. That international plan may be competitive, but some are about $10 a day. So it depends. If you're going for a week and you're spending $70 on that, it might not be such a big deal. If you're going for 2-3 weeks or more, then you really may want to consider getting a SIM card or a pocket Wi-Fi instead. We have lots of videos on those topics. It looks like we have another question related to SIM cards. We are trying to stick to transportation here. So we're going to, what's the minimum amount one should put on getting an IC card? When you very first get your IC card, I might put 3,000. We are on the end of, we put very little on our card, and then we just charge it up really frequently. So at first I might put 3,000, but it's okay to charge your card just 1,000 or 2,000 at a time if you're worried about having extra left on your IC card. Now, it is more convenient not having to charge as frequently. So when I have my digital card, I'll put 4,000 or 6,000 on that at a time. I also feel I am less likely to lose my cell phone, so I'm not as worried about having a balance on it. We have a kid who has lost his Suica card multiple times, and so think about it. If you put a big balance on, you lose your card, your money's gone. But yeah, you can definitely top it up just a couple thousand at a time. Can you please explain how to get a Shinkansen ticket from Tokyo to Kagoshima?
So that's quite a distance, Tokyo to Kagoshima. But you can purchase this in multiple ways. The easiest way is to use, since you're going this route, is you can use Smart EX. On the website, we have a video explaining all the details on that. Sometimes let me just back up. We also recommend Klook, because a lot of times on Smart EX, your credit card won't be accepted. This is just really common with a lot of Japanese websites because of the security issues that they have. Your card may not work. So first try Smart EX and then try Klook. You can purchase both of those from both those places. There are other places, but those are definitely the two easiest ways. Now, once you've purchased your ticket, you can pick them up again at ticket machines within the Tokyo area if you're flying into Tokyo first. And it could be at any of the JR ticket machines, or you can also go to the office to pick it up.
And we have separate videos explaining step-by-step how to buy the tickets on Smart EX or how to buy the tickets on Klook. Klook does charge a 10% service charge, but that's just for the ease and convenience of it. It translates into multiple languages. It's really easy to enter your starting and ending stations, and it accepts so many forms of payment and credit cards. So anytime along the way, if you're trying to buy train tickets or attraction tickets and your credit card is not being accepted, then it's a nice fallback to have Klook. Even though they do charge a service fee, it's easy to use.
Right. And because of that, we use them all the time because it seems to be random. Sometimes our credit cards work and sometimes they don't.
Okay. Super chat. Thank you so much. Your videos on train travel are so helpful for my upcoming trip to Japan this coming July. Thanks. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
We try to explain it. Sometimes the concepts are confusing and people are still confused, but we try our best to simplify things. Okay. Do you need to provide your child's age to get a child's IC card? I'm arriving at 9 p.m. and wondering, will these still be staffed to get a child IC card to show them the passport? Yes, you will have to show their passport to prove their age. will the ticket office be open at 9 p.m.? It may not be.
Maybe not. So the hours are usually like around 6 or 7 in the morning till about 7 in the evening, but sometimes they stay open later.
At the airport?
Yes.
If you're at the airport, sometimes things are open later. If you can't get it then you can just go ahead and, even if you use a ticketing machine, there's options to either purchase an adult ticket or purchase a child ticket. So if that first time you arrive, you need to just buy a physical paper ticket, you can, and then the next day you could go into a JR office at a train station and show their passport and get their child Suica card. And those are available because they're actual registered cards with their name printed on them, so it doesn't fall under the no Suica cards available right now. And also the child card, when you tap it on the gate, it makes kind of a little chirping sound to alert the attendant that's a kid going through, so they know it's not like an adult walking through.
Yeah.
And just a tangent that we have received questions about is the child Suica cards are for ages 6 to 11 years old. So if you have kids who fall below that, 5 years old or younger, they can just walk right through the ticket gate with you. Usually we have one of our younger kids walk through with him and one of them walk through with me, and we have never been hassled. We have our 10-year-old tap his child IC card. He goes through with a kid, I go through with a kid. We've never had the gates shut on us or anybody ask us our kids' names at all, our kids' ages, I mean. So the only time they ask for proof of age is when you're buying that IC card. We've never had anybody question, is our 5-year-old really 5 years old?
Okay, here's a good question for you, Heidi.
Any issue to be careful of crossing JR zones when using IC cards? Example, using Suica. So that is the one time when your IC card may run into an issue. So if you start in one zone and that same train journey ends in another zone, then you might not simply be able to tap out at your destination gate. If there's a red flashing light and a buzzing sound and the gate closes and doesn't let you through, then there's usually always a little office off to the side of the ticket gates, and you go there and you explain to them what happened. They'll ask for your card, whether it's a physical card or a digital one, and set it on this little type of reader thing, and then that train station attendant person will straighten it out for you. So we've never had an issue getting it fixed. It's just you might not be able to breeze right through the ticket gate when you arrive. Now there are some areas in Japan that do not accept IC cards at all. And normally, if you are going to be starting in an area that accepts IC cards and transferring into one that doesn't, there is usually big signage in the train station warning you of that. We've really only encountered a couple areas in Japan that just didn't take IC cards at all, like in the Niseko ski resort area. So
it's usually in remote areas where they're not going to take it.
And if you're about if you're about to transition from an area that does accept IC card to doesn't, they'll probably let you know that you're about to do that.
Yeah, sometimes even on the train itself, it'll say it. If it knows you're crossing into another territory, there might be a big sign on the train saying the same thing.
Yeah, and it's not that you can't use an IC card, it's just you probably have to.
Exactly. You'll definitely be able to use a Suica card into the Toiga region.
Multiple zones.
Yeah, into multiple zones, not just the going from the Suica into, like if you're going to Nagoya or something, that's usually not going to be a problem at all. You can definitely, and like Heidi said, it doesn't matter where you are in Japan, you're going to be able to cross over. You just might, if you do run into the issue, just go into the office. They'll tap the card for you and figure it out.
Yeah, we've had to do that multiple times.
Many times.
There's all different issues that can arise on a train. I just want to make it clear that the staff is very helpful at the train stations, so they've always helped us figure things out.
Okay, here.
Been a while since I have been to Japan, and we tend to avoid trains during peak hours, but it's not considered poor form to travel with luggage on non-peak hours. So that's great if you're avoiding riding local trains during rush hour. Thank you for doing that. Sometimes they are so crowded that you're smashed in like sardines and it looks like nobody else can fit on the train, and then they shove 5 more people into the train. So taking your luggage on a local train during rush hour is not very polite. So thank you for avoiding doing that. If it is not rush hour, yeah, we take our luggage onto local trains because sometimes you need to take 1 or 2 local trains to get to your major train station where you're going to get on a Shinkansen that does allow luggage, or you're trying to get to the airport or wherever. You know, sometimes to make the connection of where you need to go, you've got to take those local trains. So yes, it is okay to take luggage on the trains during non-rush hour. Try to be polite about moving your luggage out of the way as much as possible. Don't be blocking the aisle with it. Like I've seen people sitting across from each other and one person's got their suitcase and then the person across from them has their suitcase and they're blocking the whole aisle. don't do that. Just try to keep it out of the way, and also keep a hand on your luggage, because when the trains either slow down or they stop, people's luggage sometimes rolls off. So stay holding on to it, stay out of people's way.
Yeah, and if it's really crowded, what we tend to do is try to line up at the gate that is going to be at the end of the train car, not in the center, because there's usually more space towards the end of the gate. So what you can look for is when you come to the platform is look for the signs, and there's some that will say priority seating area. Look for that, because those are towards the end, and then you'll know you're towards the end, and that's usually, not always, will have a little bit more space.
There might be indication on the ground also that that car is for wheelchairs and strollers. So if you get in the particular car with the wheelchair area, as long as nobody's there with their wheelchair, there's a little bit more space to put your luggage. We even saw on one train recently where the seats folded up to allow there to be luggage there. I thought that was pretty cool. I'm going to take the Haruka Express from Tennoji to Kansai Airport early morning, basically the first departure time at 6:37 a.m. My question is, can I buy the tickets the day before?
The easiest way would be to go visit the ticketing office, and yes, you can purchase these tickets in advance. So because most of the seats are reserved anyways, so it's a good idea for you that you're going to be going early in the morning.
Yes, and can I buy it day before? Yes. I think there'd be availability if they waited till the day before.
Oh yeah. There's so many trains that go on that route. We've never had an issue getting on one, but since you want to make sure you get the earliest one, purchasing it ahead of time is a good idea.
Yeah, and we do recommend buying tickets at least a day before when you want reserved tickets, because if you wait until the day of, and especially since you're trying to take the first train, but if you wait for the day of, there might not be seats available. So we always do recommend buying reserved seats at least a day ahead.
All right, let's just find questions.
Okay, you want to pull that one up? It says, what app do we use for Shinkansen ticket purchase? So it depends what area of Japan you'll be traveling within. There's Smart EX, which covers...
Smart EX covers from Tokyo all the way down south to Kyushu, which is Fukuoka, Kyushu Island. Again, it only covers that region. If you're going to be going north from Tokyo north all the way up to Hokkaido, then you would use JR East or Klook. So that's one thing we forgot to mention earlier. It really depends on what region of Japan you're traveling. And again, this is because the railways are broken down into 6 JR companies. There are other railways, but those are the major ones, and the JR is the only one that has Shinkansen anyways. So again, it depends on where you're going, will depend on which...
either website or app.
Yes.
There's only a couple that are apps. Smart EX is an app,
yes,
and Klook is an app, and Klook covers all of Japan, which is, again, another benefit of that. A lot of the other JR company ones are just websites, right?
Right. So the JR, for instance, they have EkiNet website, which is not as user-friendly, but you can certainly purchase your tickets through them as well. We'll link to that in the description below.
Yeah, and Smart EX can be used either as an app or as a website. So some people were saying that the app was not available in their country, in which case you can use Smart EX website instead. And
we have lots of videos explaining the details on that. So
yeah, go through our earlier
yes,
videos if you want step-by-step how to use Smart EX. We will buy a Pasmo Passport card in July. However, if this card is going to be discontinued in August, is there a chance that the vendors, 7-Eleven, won't accept the Pasmo card in July? Interesting question. I haven't really thought about this yet. And in general, in Japan, they're good about once you've bought something, allowing you to still use it.
It'll still be usable.
I think it's more just that nobody will be able to purchase it once it's discontinued.
Right. Yeah.
Did you see for sure that it's getting discontinued?
Yes, the Pasmo Passport is getting discontinued. However, the regular Pasmo is going to be around, and these cards are pretty much the same. I don't think you're going to have any issue using that.
Okay, moving on.
Of course, if we find out anything different within this time, we will definitely make an update on that.
In general, in Japan, it's like whatever the rule is at the time of purchase, and then they tend to honor things. Like if you purchase something at a certain price, they tend to continue to honor that into the future. I'm using Klook to buy tickets to Toyama from Tokyo just fine, but I can't book from Toyama to Takayama. The strange thing is I can book a train on Klook from Takayama to Toyama, but not vice versa. So in general, Klook has really good coverage, but I think sometimes they forget to enter certain routes into their system. So there are, first of all, Klook sells both Shinkansen tickets and limited express train tickets. So whatever route you're going on needs to have a Shinkansen or limited express train in order for it to be available on Klook, but if it's allowing you to do it one
direction, not the other.
and not the other, you were able to buy it Toyama to Tokyo, but I can't book from Toyama to Takayama. The strange thing is I can from Takayama to Toyama, but not vice versa. You might want to contact Klook because I think sometimes there's just an oversight. So they're taking information from all these different JR companies and then entering it into their website. So it might just be an oversight on Klook's part that they didn't put all the different routes in. If they weren't to book on Klook, what area would that be?
That area is Central, JR Central area. That's really interesting. Yeah, I think contact Klook is the best option. Sometimes we contact them and let them know, and things are usually updated soon after that.
Yeah,
So,
if we've noticed things are missing from what they offer, we've contacted them before.
you might also want to try different days and see
Oh,
if that changes anything.
could be availability.
Not sure, yeah. Sorry, don't have a definitive answer on that one.
And not specific to this question, but sometimes also if people don't know what the name of the train station is, you can run into issues there. So if you're trying to enter your city name in Klook and nothing's coming up, you might want to double check like on Google Maps and make sure you know the correct name of the train station and that you're entering your starting and ending train stations correctly.
Right.
Thank you so much for this super chat. Leaving tonight for Japan, just wanted to say thanks for all your videos. We'll be using your advice on our trip, in particular Hakone and USJ videos. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
we
much.
appreciate it.
That really means a lot to us, especially when we know that we're helping people. So thank you so much.
It's also nice when we run into people in Japan. We're not there right now, but we were recently.
Please say hello if you guys see us. We'd love to talk to you and see how your trip's going. And even if you have any questions, just say hello.
Yeah, we recently did Hakone. That's one of my favorites. Okay, is there still a shortage of long-term 10-year IC cards? Yes.
Yes. In particular, this is the Suica and Pasmo cards in the Tokyo region. If you are flying into Japan in other parts, you can still get other cards.
There are other types of cards. So every region has their own card. These other types of cards are still available.
Yes. So
it's just Suica and Pasmo that are not. So you can get these other types. We have one from Sapporo too.
Yeah, this one is in the Nagoya area, and this is the Kansai, Osaka, Kyoto area.
But as far as Tokyo area, regular Suica, regular Pasmo are not currently available.
So again, if you want the regular and you're going to be in the Tokyo area, and if you have an iPhone, you can get the digital one. Sorry if you have an Android.
We don't control this. Somebody says, do you live in Japan now? How do you compare it to Malaysia? We are digital nomads living in Malaysia. We travel as tourists to Japan. Right now, most of our content is focused on Japan just because it's the #1 travel destination in the world right now, and we love going to Japan, but we're sitting right here in Malaysia, which we really enjoy too. It has a good cost of living with nice weather.
But I mean, we do spend a lot of time in Japan, anywhere between 3 and 6 months, because it's such a great place as well. But yeah, they're both great, and we're actually looking. Japan just recently released a digital nomad visa, which is valid for 6 months, and we will be doing that in the future. However, by being tourists, it allows us to do things that residents don't get to do. For instance, by being tourists, we can continue purchasing regional passes and JR passes and making these videos. That's why we feel like we know so much, is because we're out there doing it constantly because we can.
As tourists, from the tourist side.
Right.
Because once you actually reside in Japan, you're not eligible to purchase quite a few of these. There are some little regional passes that you can get if you live in Japan, but a lot of things are only for tourists. So we're tourists when we go to Japan. We're digital nomads living in Malaysia, which we do enjoy. It's a good place to settle down, get some work done, and enjoy the weather here. Not all platforms have map directions. When I'm on a platform, how do I know which side I need to stand? The 2 trains are going in opposite directions. So are you trying to find a view out the window on the train?
No, I think okay, so one direction.
Platforms. Platform. Sorry, I didn't sink in. Okay, when you're on a platform, not all have directions when I'm on the platform. How do I know which? Okay,
so this is a really good question, and it can be totally confusing, and we make mistakes all the time because I'm always in a rush for some reason when I shouldn't be. So what you want to do is when you don't see maps or anything, is what it will show you is there's going to be a sign that's going to have a destination, right? And then but on the ends, on the left and right side, it's going to be the terminus on this side and the terminus on this side. So let's say you are going, you're coming from Tokyo and you're trying to go to, let's just say Nagoya, okay? But when you're trying to go to your platform, one side is going to say Nagoya and the other side might say, Sendai. So you're going north and south. So if you are going to Nagoya, the train might not say Nagoya though, it might say Kyoto instead. So what you have to look at is, okay, Kyoto is my terminus, so what I need to be, if I'm going from Tokyo, which way is the train going to be going? It's going to be the side you want to go is wherever that terminal station is. So if it says Kyoto, that's the side you want to get into, even though you want to get off at Nagoya.
So for us, step one is if we're using Google Maps, sometimes it tells you what platform to go to, so we'll listen to that and head to that platform. Step two is we'll look for any signage at that platform. It will usually tell you, the end station for that route. Sometimes it will also have a map that shows you which is the next station. So also based upon, is that next station the direction you're going or is it the opposite direction? You might be able to figure out from that. And sometimes there is just no signage.
Right.
We ended up in the freezing cold out in the middle of nowhere at this tiny little train station, and we could not figure out in any way which side we want to be on. We ended up like crossing back and forth and running across to the other side trying to get on a train. So.
Yeah. But if you're going locally, it's really not a big deal if you miss a train, because especially if you're in the city, I mean, if you went the wrong direction, just get off at the next station. Just get off and then cross right over to the other side because you went the wrong way.
And head back the other way.
Head back the other way.
So always know what the ending station for your route you're taking, and always know what the first stop should be. So if your first stop, it's calling a station that you weren't supposed to go towards, get off the train, go to the other platform to get back, going back the other way.
That was much better explained than what I did. Sorry.
Yeah. What are the peak travel times I should avoid? I am traveling with small children. Do you have any etiquette suggestions for the trains? So peak travel times, as in times of year.
Just happened. Golden Week just happened. That was absolutely so. And the springtime, even right before Golden Week, is insane. So we just came from Japan, and it was just insane. I've never seen it that crowded in our lives. It was just so ridiculous. Usually,
so we normally purposely avoid the busy seasons, but this year we did go for the cherry blossoms in the springtime, and it was busy. But we left right before Golden Week because we didn't want to be in that craziness. So you can look up Golden Week, and it's normally the end of April into May, and then there is also Obon season in August, and there is also New Year's and around the Christmas time. Those tend to be the busiest times. And then if you're talking about within a particular day, there's also rush hour. So people using the trains to go to work in the morning and using the trains to return in the evening. If you have young kids, you probably won't be out as late as last train of the night, but those are often really packed too.
Yeah, so avoid late trains and avoid evening rush hour is the absolute worst. Okay, and especially if you have little kids. I mean,
because they can get
there's
packed
no mercy.
in, and it's kind of
like,
scary for them, and we're like, are you okay down there? Because there's all these adults, and then your kids are like smashed in between the adults. So try not to be on the train at rush hour.
Right.
And etiquette suggestions for train, we do have a video called the do's and don'ts of train travel in Japan that would be a good one to watch. But in general, just be polite, if you have like diaper bag or extra bags for your kids, try to keep them on your lap or on a rack. Don't be like blocking a whole lot of area. Also, personally, we use a baby carrier rather than a stroller. I do occasionally see people getting onto trains with strollers, but keep in mind that the trains can be very crowded. So if you have a stroller, you want to look for the markings on the platform that indicate which train car has room for a stroller. You can get in any train car, but it might be pretty crowded.
Yeah. But since you have young children, also like us, I recommend also when you get to the platform, just look for the line that has the symbol for priority, and then your kids can sit there. And a lot of times there's people who shouldn't be sitting there, but when they see you have little kids, they'll usually get up and move.
So generally priority is for elderly, disabled, if you're injured, or if you're like a mom with a baby on her lap or a pregnant person. So our kids are kind of borderline, don't quite qualify for priority, but if we see somebody come along that really should have the priority seat, then we can have our kids get up and move out of the seats.
And as far as etiquette, I just would want to add one thing, is that our kids like to look out the windows a lot. All the kids do, right? They want to see the trains go by. However, try to keep their shoes off the seats. Some of the, especially the elderly, don't like that. So
yeah, shoes are dirty. Shoes should not be
shoes are
going
dirty. They should never be on
onto
the
seats. So with kids, that's something to keep in mind. Also, if you're on local trains, there's no eating or drinking on local trains. So we try not to allow them to have snacks unless it's like an emergency situation where we really need to sneak them a piece of chocolate to get them to behave.
That's
but
okay.
You don't want to be making a mess on the train. And then also, in general, you're not supposed to speak really loudly, but sometimes kids just are loud, and Japanese people have kids too.
Yeah, and their kids
so
are
they
loud.
understand that some kids are, you know, as an adult, you can set an example of not speaking very loudly on the train, but if your kids do, I wouldn't stress too much about it.
Yeah.
Our kids are usually the loudest people on the train. Have you ever gotten on the wrong train? What did you do? We have gotten on so many wrong trains, and this is because he's always in a hurry. Our train is in 1 minute, and we have to get there, and we run. And then we realize we were on the wrong platform. We jumped on the wrong train, and the doors closed before we could get off. Generally, we just get off at the first station. We cross to the platform, going back the other direction, and get on the train going back the other direction. This is usually not a big deal. It usually costs us maybe 5 minutes to make that change. Only one time we were stuck when we had no idea which direction the train was going. But.
And I just want to add to this that sometimes, because you get on the wrong train, your group can get separated. This does happen. So you should have a plan for if your group gets separated, especially when it's really crowded. So the plan that works really well for us is that we're always telling our kids is if we get separated, you get off at the next station and you wait right there. Don't go anywhere. Get off at the next station
and wait.
Wait right there. And
because if they wait, we know we can go and find them. We've gotten separated from a friend before where they just kept switching back, and so we were just like switching back and forth, and then finally we found them on the platform in the middle. But if you have the plan in mind, get off and wait at the next station, we'll come back for you, then that's a good one.
Yes.
Also, don't be rushing to get on the train at the last minute where the doors close before the rest of your party gets on the train. Again, our plan is get off at the first stop, we'll meet up there. And then also, trains run on time in Japan, so be careful about getting on too soon of a train. Often there's a board up overhead and it will have a list of trains. So it'll say, on this platform 1, this train is coming at 11:54, another train is coming at 11:56, another one's coming at 12:02. Do not get on a train that's earlier than your train. I've done that before where I got on the train and I realized it was 2 minutes before my supposed departure time and the doors closed before I could get off, and I was on a 2 minute too early train. All I had to do is get off at the very first stop and then wait for my train. Came along 2 minutes later and I got on it. So, I mean, even if you have experience with riding trains, it's very likely at some point you'll get on the wrong train. I've got 3 weeks going from Tokyo to Fuji-Q to, can you read that?
Shimanami, Kaido to Kagoshima, Yakushima, back to Tokyo.
Wow, should I get the JR Pass? I know it's a lot. 3 weeks, so there's a possibility of getting a 21-day. In general, we usually recommend the 7-day just because, you know, it costs less, but sometimes when you're doing an extended trip, then the 21-day can be worth it because it doesn't increase as much in price going from 7 to 14 to 21-day. You're more familiar than me with the areas.
For this route, what I would recommend, if you can, is get the 14-day if you can, and then just activate it on the day that you want to start using it. That way you're not wasting it, and then maybe you can loop. I don't know if you're looping all the way back. Okay, you are looping back. If you can loop back within that 14 days, then that would be a nice savings.
Yeah, it's fine to not have your JR Pass cover all your days. If your first days you're going to be kind of stationary, or if your last days you're going to be stationary in one city, you want to activate your JR Pass the first day you'll take a Shinkansen, because Shinkansen costs so much more than local transportation. So we always plan our trips to pack it in to 7 days or 14 days, all of our long distance going city to city travel.
But to answer your question, yes, the JR Pass is good for your route, especially if you can do it within 14 days.
And we do have a video, Is the JR Pass Worth It in 2024, where we show you 2 different ways to add up the cost of how much would it cost to buy tickets individually versus how much does the JR Pass cost for anybody wondering for their specific route. In general, if you're only doing the Golden Route, Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, Tokyo, then currently the JR Pass is no longer a good deal for that. Okay, I am reaching Haneda in night 1 a.m. and have to go towards Tokyo. What should I be doing? I have 2 kids with me.
Take a taxi. That's most likely going to be your only option available at that time. Sometimes there's some buses, but the taxi is going to be your easiest option. However, it might cost a little bit depending on where in Tokyo.
A little bit is, can you give an example?
Yes, so it's going to cost, I would say, minimum between 50 to 80 US dollars, depending on how far you're going. The farther you go, the more it's going to cost.
At least Haneda is located in Tokyo, and it's going to be a lot closer to get to city center of Tokyo versus Narita is located out in Chiba Prefecture, and Narita is a lot farther to get into Tokyo.
Right.
So at least your taxi won't cost as much since you're coming from Haneda.
Yes, and what was I going to add to that? Yeah, there's not going to be any other forms of transportation at 1 a.m. in the morning. So,
plus, it takes all the time to get through the airport. You know, it might be actually 2 a.m. by the time.
Oh, that's true. So we have a separate video on, navigating Haneda and where you can find the taxi queue, as there will be a queue even at 1 in the morning. But there will be plenty of taxis, so don't worry about that.
Okay, the iCoco one. Is the eCoca IC card available to buy? If so, yes. The regular eCoca card is available to buy. This is the Osaka area, Kansai area one. And this is a regular IC card. So this one, you can get a balance reimbursed. There might be a deposit fee on it.
Yeah, there is a deposit fee of $500.
But you can get balance reimbursed, and then you can keep this, and if you come back to Japan within the next 10 years, you can use it again. We have a whole collection of them, and I think once you use it again, then again you have another 10-year window where if you use it again, it keeps working. So since there's a shortage, hold on to your IC cards. I've also heard of people, if their friends or family went to Japan, you might be able to borrow their IC card from them to use it again. That is a real actual card. It's not the tourist version. There is a tourist version. I think it's called the Kansai One Pass. So there's a tourist one. I would just get the regular real one.
Get the regular one.
So it'll keep working.
The Kansai One does come with some benefits, but they're so minimal in my opinion that I don't think it's worth it.
I'd get the regular. Okay. We are there for 10 nights at the end of October with a 3-year-old and a 10-month-old. Thinking 8 nights in Tokyo and 2 nights in Hakone, with 3 or 4 day trips out of Tokyo, unless you recommend another way. Yes, when you have small kids, it can be really nice to stay stationary in one hotel room. It tends to be hard on our kids when we're moving from place to place to place. So that sounds like a good idea to base yourself in Tokyo. We recently released a video on the 7 best day trips from Tokyo, so you could get some ideas from that of things you could do. 2 nights in Hakone would be nice if you can afford it. We do recommend staying in a traditional ryokan type hotel there. The prices of hotels are quite expensive in Hakone. So we did 1 night recently. If you can afford 2 nights, that would be nice as well. Our kids actually loved the traditional ryokan with onsen that we stayed in Hakone recently.
We could only afford 1 night.
Yeah, they were begging us, like, why can't we stay here longer? And we're like, because of the price of this room. It's crazy.
Yeah, but also there's so much to do in the Tokyo area. You could spend a month there with your
just
kids.
Within Tokyo. One reason we don't make a lot of Tokyo itinerary videos is I feel like there are endless things that you can do within Tokyo. So. And then also, if you want to do day trips to the surrounding area as well. With a 10-month-old, maybe you even want to just stick within Tokyo. I really like Sanrio Pearlland, which is a bit of a train ride, but it is in Tokyo, and that could be a good thing to do with young kids. Also, just going to the parks is nice.
Right. In Japan, there are parks everywhere.
And playgrounds.
Playgrounds everywhere for kids. So it's really set up for little kids. And, and the bathrooms all have little sinks for kids, so it's perfect.
I would say it's one of my favorite places to travel with babies and young kids because they expect you to have a baby in the restrooms. There's even a little seat where you can set your baby in the seat if you need to use the toilet. So things are very much set up for parents there.
Yeah, I mean for parents.
What is the best Navi app? We did answer this that we generally use Google Maps. If you're using a JR Pass or a regional JR Pass, then you might want to use Japan Travel by Navitime, that you can select and filter it for your particular one. I don't know, is there some good alternative to Google Maps?
Well, I've tried using Apple's Maps, but it's in my opinion, it's not as good. It's getting better all the time, and the Google Maps one seems to be more consistent. Though recently we have been, it's been giving us even more wrong information, but I can understand this. It's not an easy thing to keep up with. So, I mean, I don't know.
And if you're going to be using Google Maps, make sure you've also watched our other videos on how to have an internet connection so that you have a SIM card or a pocket Wi-Fi so that you have the internet to use the maps. You can download maps ahead of time, but sometimes you want to take a different time train or your itinerary changes, so it's good to have internet connection to pair along with Google Maps. It also that way will tell you like if there's a delay. Recently when I was taking buses, it was really reassuring to have Google Maps letting me know that my bus was delayed, so I knew it was still coming. What is a good Klook alternative for transportation on trains? So the major other app to use for booking trains is SmartEX, but it only covers a certain area of Japan.
Yes.
Can you explain again?
Again, that's only from Tokyo south all the way down to Fukuoka.
So
Right.
like
Well, it actually goes all the way down to Kyushu. All the way down to Kagoshima. So only south. It's considered the western region of Japan. Anywhere north, you'd have to use something like Klook or the Ekinet website directly from JR East. If you were going to the Hokuriku region, which is like Kanazawa, Nagoya area, then Nagoya, am I saying that? Not Nagoya, Nagano area, then that would also be JR East.
And we've been doing a series of videos on this. So far we've covered how to book on Klook. We have a video on how to book on SmartEX. We hopefully will add ones.
We'll add more. It just takes time, but we just wanted to make sure that those two were out there because we feel like those are the best systems out there. So yes, Klook does charge 10% surcharge, but sometimes it's really worth it because that's really might be your only option.
And Ekinet is pretty good too.
Yeah.
Eventually we'll make a video on that as well.
And once you get more comfortable, you can just buy them directly from the machines as well. Of course, that means being at the station to do that.
Before even we were nervous, he didn't like using the machines because he's made a mistake, and it can be an expensive mistake if you buy your ticket to the wrong station or for the wrong day. But now we're finally comfortable enough to use the ticketing machines, and you can just go the day before or a few days before to the train station and buy your Shinkansen tickets directly from the machine.
Okay, again, just real quick, the old Suica card is not available right now, only the Welcome Suica, and the Welcome Suica is only available at Terminal 3 of Haneda Airport at this time. So if you're flying into Tokyo, try to get the Passmo Passport instead, which is available at both Narita and Haneda airports.
And those tourist versions are valid for 28 days.
Yes. And again, we just recently I've asked several times in the past few months at different stations, and all of them said they have no idea when the regular Suica cards are coming back. And my guess is it's not going to be for any time soon.
Yeah, so if you have an iPhone, you could opt for a digital IC card. Is it worth getting the Passmo Passport card in July since the card is being discontinued in August of this year? Many stores may stop accepting before August. We answered this a little bit before, but it's our assumption that they will probably keep accepting it afterwards. It's just that nobody will be able to buy a new card. I think they'll still accept a card that you already have at that point.
Yeah, we really don't think that's going to be a problem.
Does Yamato service provide luggage pickup from hotel in Osaka? The only office I found in Osaka is at the airport.
There are actually quite a few offices in Osaka. However, picking up at your hotel should not be a problem. If they're not going to pick it up, then it's probably the staff is not just being very helpful. But that should not be a problem picking it up at a hotel in Osaka.
So the first thing I would do is when you check in at your hotel, ask at the reception, can I have my luggage shipped from here to wherever you want to have it shipped to? And normally the reception will help you fill out the forms, help you schedule the pickup. Major hotels sometimes have like a once a day pickup time because they have people using it every single day. If you're at a smaller hotel, then maybe they have to actually make a phone call to have Yamato come and get it. So first ask at your hotel. If that's not an option there, then I would go on Google Maps and search Yamato Transport. And normally wherever we've been in Japan, quite a few different offices come up. And then if you go into the office, just be a little bit more prepared, having everything written out of exactly the address you want it shipped to, if you have a phone number of the address you're having it shipped to, because they may not speak as much English in an actual Yamato Transport office as your hotel reception would. So just be really prepared with knowing where you want to send your luggage.
Also, please do this as soon as possible because sometimes, depending on when you need it to arrive, they might say no. So give yourself 2 days.
It might need some lead time.
Right.
You might need to ship it a couple days before you want it to arrive.
Especially if you're having it sent to an airport. They're very strict about that, so make sure you do it in advance.
And we do have multiple videos. We have a video from at least a year ago about using Yamato Transport, and we have a more recent video on this topic of luggage delivery services where we gave more of the same day options, because a lot of people were saying, well, I can't wait 2 or 3 days to get my luggage, are there same day options? So our more recent video on luggage delivery services in Japan covers those same day options.
What's wrong with using the Hokuriku Arch Pass round trip from Tokyo to Osaka with stays in Kanazawa or vicinities? Absolutely nothing. We highly recommend this route.
It's fine. You can do it. You can go Tokyo, Osaka, and back. I mean, it's unlimited, so you could go. The one reason we recommended in our video on the guide to the Hokuriku Arch Pass to go Tokyo, one direction, and fly out of Osaka is just because it takes a long time to make the arch back. So do you want to spend 5 hours on trains just to get back? Because the Hokuriku Arch Pass does not include the Tokaido Shinkansen going straight directly from Tokyo to Kyoto. It only makes this arch route. That's the only way you can travel on it. So if you don't mind the time it takes to go back, that's perfectly fine. Plus, since the time that we released our video on the Hokuriku Arch Pass, they have extended the Hokuriku Shinkansen an additional amount. So it now goes from Kanazawa all the way to Suruga Station. And then from there, the rest of the way to Kyoto is by the Thunderbird Limited Express train, which is a slower train. So once you get used to riding on Shinkansen, the Limited Express can seem slower, takes longer. So that's the only reason that we had recommended doing it one way, is just because it's going to take you time to get back. But it's going to be a bit shorter time to get back. Do you think it's 4 hours now?
Yeah, I think it's cut off at least an hour off the journey. And
now
so
that the Shinkansen goes farther.
Yeah, quite farther down.
So it's perfectly fine. Whenever these passes say unlimited, you can use them back and forth. As long as you're in the included route, you can use it unlimited amount of times. So if you want to go back, that's perfectly fine.
And we love the Hokuriku Arch Pass. That whole area is just so beautiful. It's like the really hidden Japan that we hope more people start to visit, because there's just so many amazing things to see and do in that whole area.
And some of the areas are slightly off the covered arch. So for instance, going to Matsumoto, we have a video on that. And you have to pay separately to get there because it's not directly on the covered arch, but we still think it's worth to get that arch pass and then just pay additional for any little tiny side trips that veer off of the included path. And the Hokuriku Arch Pass does also include some JR trains within Tokyo area, so you can get to the airports in Tokyo, and also the Yamanote line that loops around is included as well. So there's maps that show the exact coverage area. Is Pasmo useful for traveling Sapporo to Tokyo? Oh, thinking that I don't want to buy a JR pass. Well, I would not go all the way from Sapporo to Tokyo using an IC card, because that's going to be taking a limited express train plus taking a Shinkansen train. So if you want to use the Pasmo, if you fly into Sapporo, it's not going to be Pasmo anyways. It's Kitaka, I think.
Yeah, Kitaka, and well, they have a couple, but.
Within Sapporo, yes, you can use a Pasmo. Within Tokyo, yes, you can use a Pasmo. To get between the two, you're going to need to buy a limited express train ticket and also a Shinkansen. If you're only going one direction, then yeah, I would just purchase those tickets on their own. If you were going like down and back up again, then you would want to get the JR pass. But if you're just going one direction, say flying in to Sapporo, flying out of Tokyo, you can just buy individual tickets. We have videos on buying Shinkansen train tickets, and we have a video specifically about the limited express train tickets, because Sapporo to Hakodate, is that right? Is limited express train. There isn't quite yet a Shinkansen that makes it all the way up to Sapporo, but it is planned in the future, and we're really looking forward to when that's also covered by Shinkansen. Can you use remaining IC balance at airports? Yes, there's probably vending machines at the airport that takes the IC card, also little markets, most likely would, so you could probably use your balance there.
And some of the restaurants may take them as well. So there's definitely will be places where you can use your IC card at the airport.
Yeah, even fast food restaurants in Japan often accept IC cards. Small family businesses type restaurants may be only cash, but some restaurants you can even pay by IC card. Best application for a transportation subway train in Tokyo, only to find my way. We use Google Maps for the subway.
Google Maps
Metro.
is quite good for using the subway system.
If anybody has a preferred navigation app, let us know. Right now, we've just been relying on Google Maps. We do have quite a few questions in here that have to do with Wi-Fi and internet connection. Please watch his other videos. He did one comparing, do you want to get a pocket Wi-Fi versus SIM card? And since then, he has videos on the best eSIMs and also the best pocket Wi-Fis for Japan. So since that isn't the topic of this particular live, please refer to those other videos.
Because there's just a ton of questions, so we're just going to try to skip some of these now and get to the ones that are really more relevant to the topic today.
Where do you buy the Kansai Hiroshima Pass? How many days does it last for? I think we have that pulled up.
So this one's right here. This is good. It's valid for 5 days, and you can buy it directly from the JR West website. You can also purchase it on Klook, and you can even, actually I don't want to say purchase it in person. It may not be available in person only, so I would definitely buy these in advance, either through Klook or directly from the JR West website here, which again we can link in the description below.
Depending on regional passes, some are available to purchase in Japan and some can only be purchased ahead of time before you enter Japan. So in general, it's best to buy regional passes before you get to Japan, but it does vary based on the particular pass. Okay. Where do you buy, oh wait, that's still the old question. Oh. We're just skipping over, there's quite a lot of repeat questions about which IC cards are available, so we've already answered those. Hello, we are a family of 2 arriving at ITM Airport at night time, 8:30 p.m. Our hotel is near Universal Studios. We'll have 2 large suitcases plus 2 carry-ons. What's the best way to get to our hotel?
8:30 p.m.
At ITM they're flying into.
Yeah.
Isn't there airport limousine buses, but that might be a little bit late?
Yeah, there's definitely going to be buses. That would be the easiest way, directly from the airport as far as going near Universal Studios. I'm sure there are buses going that route as well. If you don't want to take the bus, you can also take the local trains. You'll have to take the train from ITM to Shin Osaka Station, where you'd have to change again and go directly to, there is a stop right at Universal Studios where most of the hotels are as well. So those are your 2 options. You can also take a taxi. There's definitely going to be taxis available too.
It's just, I don't know how much that would cost. You might want to double check ahead of time what the price,
is going to be
since
the
it
most
is kind of a
expensive
distance.
option as well.
If you can still get at that time an airport limousine bus, that's probably the easiest, because the train system have to change trains if your kids are like asleep on the train already.
Right.
That can be kind of difficult.
Yes, especially since you also have 2 large suitcases. And those airport limousine buses will have plenty of storage space for that.
There's a compartment under the bus for suitcases. In general, I do recommend packing as light as possible for a Japan trip, just because lugging around heavy luggage is not fun. Even our most recent trip, I still overpacked by bringing 1 large suitcase, and we could have not brought that suitcase and just brought carry-on size suitcases and backpacks, and it would have been easier to move around. So in general, if you can pack light, it's a good idea. Is it possible to purchase a Tokaido Sanyo Shinkansen ticket from a JR station that's not on the Tokaido Sanyo line?
Yes, that shouldn't be a problem, because most of the JR systems are connected with each other. So as long as you find a JR ticket vending machine, you should be able to purchase it. And if you have any problems, there's always the JR office too, where you can purchase it as well.
And do that, I'd recommend at least a day in advance, if not more in advance. Okay, you want to pull that one up?
Which one? This one?
The SmartEX.
Okay.
Just a personal data point on SmartEX. I tried many of my credit cards, but the one that worked was my Amex debit card.
Okay,
Thank you for that input.
Yeah, that's great to know. So we've heard now from a few people that Amex is working for people. Hopefully that is across the board.
We have Visa, which we tend to run into problems with a lot. And just to make note, is if you're trying to buy things like train tickets with your credit card online and it's not working, that doesn't mean that that same credit card won't work in person in Japan. So it's because they have extra level security on the websites in Japan that a lot of times certain credit cards will not go through when you're trying to make an online purchase. You could probably still bring that same credit card that didn't work online with you to Japan and pay at restaurants, pay at shops, and it would probably work fine. It's just they have these extra security levels on the websites that make a lot of the foreign credit cards not go through. Can you use one card to pay for two people? No. If you are using an IC card for transportation, each individual person must have their own IC card. They must tap it in at their starting station and tap out at their ending station. Because of this, system cannot track it if two people were trying to share one IC card. What happens if you miss a Shinkansen transfer gate and accidentally exit the wrong ticket gate?
This depends what type of ticket you have. If you purchased a single journey ticket and you actually did exit the ticket gate, the chances are you're going to have to purchase a new ticket. You can go talk to the attendant and see if they'll be understanding or not, but if they're not, you're going to have to purchase a new ticket. If you have a regional pass or a JR pass, then no problem, you can get back on the Shinkansen. If you don't know which way to go, again, just ask the attendant, and no problem, you'll be able to ride in any of the next available non-reserved seated cars. Or if there's time, you might be able to reserve a seat with them as well.
This specifically says transfer gate. So I'm wondering if you're transferring from a Shinkansen to Limited Express train, or you're transferring from a Limited Express to a Shinkansen. So I would need a little bit more details on exactly what you mean for transferring. Are you transferring from a Shinkansen to a particular, like say a Limited Express train? We just need a little bit more details, especially every train station is set up differently, so it can be confusing sometimes. If you're not quite sure, before you go through the gate, stop and ask an attendant. There's usually either an office right next to the gate or just an attendant standing there. So I'd say before going through the gate, if you're not absolutely sure, ask somebody, because then they could point you in the correct direction. Have you been to Bali?
3 more weeks. 3 more weeks to flying to Bali before heading back to Japan for 2 months. I'm going to have a hard time traveling on Japan watching a bunch of your videos. Well, Bali, yeah, we've been to Bali, and the transportation is not very, very good there. But, you know, it's cheap. At least it's super cheap, and you can just get, you know, either tuk-tuks or, you know, buses, or even take a taxi directly from the airport to get to Bali.
Those are kind of two opposite
Yeah.
extremes there.
Opposite
Bali,
extremes,
Indonesia
yeah.
is very, very different than Japan.
Yeah.
Japan,
Well,
there will be lots of public transportation, very modern.
At least it will be cheap in Bali.
Okay, some of these questions are on topics other than transportation, so we might
Answer those later
address
in
them
the comments. Yeah.
And please do look through our old videos, because we have quite a few videos on these topics. For instance, Universal Studios Japan, we have a few videos on that already. What is considered rush hour in Japan? Can you give more specific time?
Yeah, so I would say in the morning between 7 and 9 a.m. is really busy, but it's even more busier between 3 and 7 p.m. in the afternoon. In fact, between 6 and 7, at least in our experience in Tokyo and in Osaka, can be super duper crowded, even all the way up to 9 p.m. It's going to depend on the route that you're going. So if you are in a very popular area where a lot of people are commuting to get home, then it can be really crowded. So just, if possible, try to avoid the trains, especially in the evening time between, I'd say 5 and 7 is the absolute worst time.
They can get really
crowded.
And sometimes what we do is we just stay on the platform and we just wait for the next train, because at least if you're at the very front of the line to get on the train, you have a better chance of getting on. We've definitely had times where those doors open and we're like, there's no way we're fitting in that train as a family of 5 people. So you can wait for the next train.
Simmer Pocket Wi-Fi, send us another message on that and we can answer that in detail for you. We're trying to stay on topic since we have so many questions. Sorry.
Yeah, refer to our other videos after watching our videos on those topics. If you still have a question, you can comment directly on the video. Whenever you have a question and you want us to answer it, the best place to put the question is on the comments of one of our videos. Even if it's a different video than that topic covers, you comment on a video, that's most likely we will respond. We do not always have time to be checking messages on Facebook or Instagram. Sometimes it'll go a month before we even notice a message there. So just comment on any one of our videos and we'll be more likely to get back to you that way. The comments from this live may not be visible after we've posted the live to our channel, so we may not be able to respond to you directly on this live video. So best thing is to find one of our previous videos and ask your question there. says, going to Japan in October, is it a good month to travel? And also, is Shibuya
Yeah.
recommended for Halloween? Huh. Good time of year, yes.
Absolutely great
I
time.
love the fall, and if you are going to amusement parks, they usually are more themed and decked out. And as far as
Shibuya, that's a tough call, because while traditionally it has been an awesome place to go for Halloween, last year they basically shut it down completely. So that could be a hit or miss as far as going to Shibuya for Halloween. Sorry, I don't have a good answer for that. But USJ would be a great place to go for Halloween, as it is decked out for Halloween time, and they have like special events and stuff going on in there, special like things happening. So that would be the place to be for Halloween.
Okay, we had the issue about Kagoshima not coming up on Klook. Smart EX doesn't work for me either. Is there a Shinkansen station in Kagoshima?
Yes.
Okay, I think we addressed that already, right?
So yes, Klook doesn't recognize Kagoshima as a destination. I need to check more details on that.
If you can comment on one of our videos, and we could get back to you more on that. I think this question we put up earlier too. Do you want to just click on some of them? Like, you can just click on that.
Which one? This?
Yes. To save recharging the IC card constantly, they put 5,000 on their IC card to start. That's perfectly fine, whatever amount you feel comfortable with. We have kids, and they tend to lose their IC cards, and that's just cash gone. So for us, we feel comfortable putting a lower balance on a plastic IC card. But however much you want to charge on it, that's fine. Just know if it's an unregistered card without your name on it and you lose it, you're probably not getting the card back again. When your group reserves 2 rows of seats on the Shinkansen and you rotate a row of seats, is it okay to store an oversized luggage in the space created between the seats? Okay, so let me kind of answer this in 2 parts. If you rotate, so you have 2 seats and 2 seats facing each other in this little quad, yes, you can put luggage there. That's fine. But if you have what qualifies as oversized luggage, so that's length plus width plus depth of over 160 centimeters up to 250 centimeters, then if you're traveling on the Tokaido, Sanyo, Kyushu Shinkansen line, you must reserve the special spot for that. So if it really is oversized, anywhere 161 centimeters total up to 250, then you need to make this special seat reservation where you'll either be the last seats where there's a space between the seats, or you'll have an oversized luggage compartment to use. So if you have a smaller suitcase that's not technically oversized, yeah, we've done that before. Make the seats into a quad and put our luggage there. If it really is oversized, you need the special reservation. I mean, we have like carry-on size suitcases with a bag on top, and we've put them in our feet like that, and it's already kind of crammed. So if you have a really big suitcase, like, it might not be very comfortable trying to do it like that. Can I use Ikoko card in Tokyo trains? Yes, you can. George says all the time that's his main IC card that he uses. Okay, we're just looking for some more questions. Again, if we didn't address your question because it was on a different topic than transportation, please just comment your question on one of our previous videos and we can respond to it there, because we're skipping over the ones that are off topic. And then, is bus also tap on, tap off with the Suica? I've been planning to make a video about how to ride buses in Japan, so I will say it varies and it depends. If the bus you're riding, the fare is based on the distance you travel, then yes, you'll enter the bus. At the middle of the bus, tap your IC card, and then when it's time to get off the bus, you will exit at the front near the driver, tap your IC card again right next to the driver. Now, some places, the bus is a flat fee. Like, no matter where you go on the bus, you're just gonna pay 200 yen. In that case, it may be the front door by the driver that opens, you get on the bus, you tap your IC card once, that's it, you've paid. So it depends if you're riding the type of bus that is based on distance, then you'll have to tap in, tap out, just like you would for a train. And then what I always do is I watch the locals. So where are they lining up for the bus? Because being an American, I used to try to go in the front door. But most of the buses, it's more like a door in the middle where you enter. So just watch where the Japanese people lining up and getting on and follow them. I see bus drivers a lot having to tell people, don't come in this door. So often what they do is when the bus stops, they open the front door to let people off, they close that door, they open the middle door to let people on, you tap at that point. And there are even some buses, like in the Mount Fuji area, that accept credit cards, so they have a credit card reader there to tap as well. And if you're using something like a pass, then you can just show your pass to the driver. Spending 10 nights at the end of October with small kids, would you recommend day trips from Tokyo or moving locations every few nights? I would probably recommend day trips if your kids are going to be okay with a 1 to 2 hour train ride to get to wherever your day trip destination is.
We just made a video on that. That could be very helpful for you.
We made a video on the 7 best day trips to take from Tokyo. And you could also break it up. You know, for our kids, staying 5 nights one place and 5 nights another place would be perfectly fine as well. Making them move around either every night or every 2 nights, it gets to be too stressful because you have to repack your stuff, you have to check out at checkout time, you can't check in until check-in time. So, you know, staying one place or staying 2 places, I think would be reasonable with young kids. Our kids don't like it when we do fast-paced trips and we're staying in a different hotel every single night for 7 days.
Super
thank
chat.
you so much.
Oh, Thai baht. Khop ka, or
Khop ka.
for kopitiam. Okay. Terima kasih as well. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I'm going to Japan next month, traveling to Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, and Hakone, and back to Tokyo for Haneda. My trip lasts 20 days. What pass do you suggest to get? Thanks for your advice. Our #1 base starting point is you most likely do not need a pass. A lot of times you can just buy individual Shinkansen tickets, pay for local transportation with an IC card. So I'm seeing Golden Route, Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka. That can just, you know, buy your Shinkansen tickets as needed, pay locally with IC card. Hakone, I highly recommend using the Hakone Free Pass. I have a video all about that. If you're starting from Tokyo, you can take a train from Shinjuku Station to Hakone Yamato Station and use the Hakone Free Pass for that, plus touring around in Hakone.
Yeah, even if you're just going for 1 day, the Hakone Free Pass is still worth it.
We used it recently, even though like it was a wash. Our kids saved a ton because the kid Hakone Free Pass is really cheap.
Really discounted.
And then we kind of, pass was slightly more expensive than not having the pass, but it came out a wash among our whole family, and it just makes it so much faster because in Hakone, there's a whole bunch of little different transportations. If you do the sightseeing loop, there's a cable car, there's a ropeway, there's a sightseeing boat, there's a local train, and so if you had to buy paper tickets for each of these, it would take time to buy each of the individual tickets. Instead, you might have a Hakone Free Pass that looks something like this. It either looks like a train ticket or it looks more like this. It just makes it really easy in the Hakone area. And again, because once you get into that area, they're not JR trains.
And I just want to add that if you are doing the Golden Route, which is going from Tokyo or starting backwards, Tokyo, Kyoto, and or Osaka, those 3 areas in general, you do not need the JR pass or any pass. Okay? You do not need it. It is not worth it for that area.
If you want it just for convenience, you can get it, but like you really save money, just buy your Shinkansen ticket, taking you from Osaka up to Tokyo. How do I get over the culture shock of going to an onsen? We don't typically use the public, so like a public onsen is where all the women are in one together, all the men are in one together. What we've done, because we're a family with young kids and our kids often are not even allowed to go in those at all, is we've stayed one time in a place where we had our own onsen in our room, which is like the best of the best option. We've also stayed at a place in Hakone where it allowed each of the guests to reserve the onsens to use privately. So that meant our whole entire family could use that onsen during our time slot, just us in there. So that's an option. I know there's like a day spa in Hakone where you can either rent a private room. So even if you're one person, they have like some smaller options, some medium, some bigger ones. So you could rent a private onsen if you wanted to. You could opt for onsen in your room, or if you're brave, you could do the public one.
Yeah, which you can. You know, I've done it. I usually go with my Japanese friends, and While it is really, I would say, hard for first timers, you'd be surprised, but no one is looking. No, it's really interesting, and you just have to follow the rules. You go in, you bathe first, make sure you're really clean and stuff, and as soon as you get out there, well, everybody's naked. So,
if you have any Japanese friends, it is reassuring to go with a friend the first time,
yes.
just to understand the etiquette of like, where do I put my shoes in the locker? Where am I supposed to shower? Like, what do I do? It's kind of nice to have a buddy. It's quite common in Japan to go on like getaways with just a group of friends, so just men going on a getaway, or hakone, a lot of times it's just like women friends going on a trip there. So if you go on a trip with same gendered friends, then it's easy to go in that onsen with your friends. If you're a couple, then like even if you're using the public ones, the man has to go in the men's, the women's, and the women's. So.
But after you've gone the first time, and once you get into the onsen, it is an amazing experience, and I think for most people, they'll just be hooked.
There's a really good etiquette video. I will try to find it.
Where
it went through the step-by-step. It was really funny. They used like these buff guys to demonstrate, but it went through step-by-step how to use the onsen. So I'll try to find that video and link it below, because if you know ahead of time the etiquette of like that you're supposed to shower completely and what you're supposed to do, then it makes it a little easier.
Okay.
IC cards in Osaka. Yes, you can buy them. You can get a real one that's valid for 10 years.
This is the one you should get if you go into Osaka, Kansai area.
ICOCA, Ikoka. If anybody's planning to go to the World Expo, Kansai, Osaka, let us know. I've been thinking about that coming up in 2025.
IC cards are not in shortage in Osaka. You can still get the Ikoka card. Again, this one that Heidi just showed, this is still available, no problem. Is it possible to see out of the front of the Shinkansen from the first row of the green car? As far as I know, on the Shinkansens, the answer is no.
The only thing I realized recently is if you're taking the romance car limited express train from Shinjuku to Hakone, there's a specific version of the train if you book the specific GSE one, and that limited express romance car has an observation deck at the front. So if you were to book those very front seats, I know that one you can look straight out the window. Shinkansen, we don't know if.
No, definitely not. The designs of them are completely different.
Yeah, it's just like the conductor up there at the front window.
However,
it's that pointed nose at the front.
Besides the romance car Heidi's talking about, there is the Spacia X, which you can reserve the front car, which you can look out the front, and it's just awesome. We'll have a video out on the Spacia X very soon, where you can get an amazing experience. Where if you need to book far in advance, but you can book the entire cockpit room, which is right in front, where you can look right out.
And this is going from Tokyo to Nikko. So if you're going on a day trip to Nikko. And again, that is a limited express train, the Spacia X, and that's really awesome.
It's awesome.
Video coming soon. We think it's even better than riding on a Shinkansen because there's so many different options of types of seats. Like have the whole cockpit or have your own room on it. There are so many different types of trains in Japan, and that's why it can become confusing. A lot of tourists are familiar with Shinkansen, but there's so many types of trains. Hello. I was thinking of taking a domestic flight to Hokkaido from Tokyo instead of taking the train in December. How's your experience with domestic flights in Japan overall? Excellent. So we've often done where we fly one direction, Tokyo to Hokkaido, to Sapporo, and then we take the train the other direction, and that's just because we love trains and we love doing train trips, but we tend to extend it, maybe do a whole 7-day train trip. Flying is perfectly fine. We do prefer taking an airline like JAL, Japan Airlines, over the low-cost carriers. We've taken Peach Airline before, Peach Airways, and they were very strict with their carry-on allotment. You need to know if you're flying domestically within Japan that it's not just the size of your carry-on bags, but also the weight. And so I think Peach had a 7 kg limit, and they were weighing like our toddler's tiny little backpack, and certain things were overweight, so we had to juggle and move the stuff around among the 5 of us until every single bag was within that weight limit. And so next time we're like, we're not flying the low-cost carriers.
We were that family that people talk about in the back. We were them.
Because we didn't realize how strict they would be. So
very strict.
We've had excellent service with Japan Airlines, both flying to get to Japan and then flying within Japan. And the flights are perfectly fine. That will be much faster. It's like an 8-hour train ride if you want to take the train, and much quicker just to fly. We love Hokkaido. Hokuriku Arch Pass round trip for 7 days from Tokyo, worth it. The Hokuriku Arch Pass is worth it if you're going to stop off in multiple cities along the arch, enjoy them, go exploring. If you were to simply use the Hokuriku Arch Pass to go from Tokyo, get off at Kanazawa, and then go to Kyoto or Osaka, it wouldn't actually save you money on that. The Hokuriku Arch Pass is really meant for exploring that Hokuriku area. So if you stop off and, is it Nagano? Nagano, yes. Where it stops, take a side trip to Matsumoto, again, stop off in Kanazawa, which I could easily spend a few days. There's tons to do in Kanazawa. Then go to Fukui and visit the dinosaur museum, or go to Eheiji, the Buddhist monastery there, and then get back on the train and eventually make your way to Osaka. That is when the Hokuriku Arch Pass is going to be worth it. It is a 7-day pass if you're really going to use it. And you can use the pass within Tokyo and within Osaka, Kansai area as well. But if you're just planning to try to get as fast as possible from, Tokyo to Osaka, then just take
the Tokaido
Shinkansen direct and get there fast. We recommend the Hokuriku Arch Pass because we really like that area. And as far as round trip, yes, you can do round trip. You can take your full 7 days and really enjoy the area. Please talk about what credit cards work when reloading digital Suica. I've heard that Visa does not work. So I think you're just going to have to check with your particular credit card company. We had Visa, and when he called, they told him that if we reloaded the digital card, it would be counted as a cash advance, right? And we don't want cash advance fees on our credit card. So we never actually tried using our Visa, our Chase Sapphire preferred card to reload. What I did instead is I went ahead and I got an Apple Card, which is a MasterCard, and I'm using my Apple Card to reload my Pasmo. If anybody else who's watching this has different credit cards and they know they work, please go ahead and leave that in the comments so we can see which other cards work. We haven't tried any other options. I didn't want to try one that would count as a cash advance and be hit with that fee, so I didn't bother to try. But the Apple Card, MasterCard has worked fine. It just counts like a regular purchase would count.
And someone just let us know when Silver Week is. Thank you. It's at the end of September, September 22nd. Popular in the Northeast, the foliage colors.
Okay, so that answers
awesome.
whoever
Awesome.
asked that September 22nd to 27th, I guess, is Silver Week. Is 1 day enough in Nikko with the Nikko World Heritage Area Pass, and is the pass worth it? So we have not personally used the passes yet, but there are Nikko passes. I would assume it depends exactly what you're going to do in Nikko. When we went, we just walked to the bridge and we walked to the monastery. For what we did, we didn't need one of those passes, but I know they are quite popular, and some of the Nikko passes, I'm not sure about the specific one you're stating, but some of them also will cover partially your transportation from Tokyo to Nikko. So just look into the details more and exactly what it covers and what you're planning to do. Is 1 day enough? 1 day, we've spent 1 day there before. Mm-hmm. We haven't gone to the Edo Wonderland. If we were going to do that, then I would opt for at least 2 days in Nikko. Is it easy to pick pocket Wi-Fi at Narita Airport? Oh, this is kind of
it's off topic, but yes, as long as I recommend you reserve it in advance, then no problem. There are multiple places, multiple companies that you can purchase from and pick up directly at the airport. I've got a separate video on that if you want to check that out.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. Somebody else responded about Silver Week in September. Okay, so how do you do this?
Click right there.
Okay, if staying in Tokyo for 2 weeks, do you think it's possible to take the bullet train to another place, for example, Osaka, and come back to Tokyo the same day? It's possible. How long?
Yeah, many people do it.
Is it 2 hours?
2.5 hours.
About 2.5 hours?
Well, to Osaka is 3 because you actually stop in Kyoto. So it's going to be 3 hours, but yes, many people do it.
Yep, you can do that, side trips. We do have some questions here about ATMs and credit cards. Does ATM at 7-Eleven also exchange USD? No, the ATMs are specifically for withdrawing cash and will come out of the machine in yen. There are some machines that are currency exchange machines where you can put in your currency, but that's different than a 7-Eleven ATM. We are planning to do a video soon on this topic about credit cards, using ATMs, exchanging money in Japan. We do already have one video on this topic as well from a year or more ago, but we'll get to that topic soon. Right now we're trying to stick to transportation. Can you please clarify which app can be used to check if your particular stations are covered under the purchased Japan Rail Pass? Okay, so it's called Japan Travel. Can you pull it up at all?
Japan Travel by Navitime.
And the company that offers it is called Navitime. So they've just pulled all this information from different places. It's not like an official government or official train website that offers it. It has a picture of Mount Fuji and a Shinkansen. And then, let me see.
So this is the app here. It's available for both Androids and iPhones.
And then within the app, if you click on route, there's something to select tourist pass. And for the free version, you can select one tourist pass at a time. So you would scroll down on there, like I see Fuji Hakone Pass, Hakone Free Pass, Hokuriku Arch Pass, JR East Pass. There's so many different ones. And the one that's just listed as Japan Rail Pass is the whole Japan Rail Pass. So you can select it, whichever pass you're trying to use, but for the free version, you can select one pass at a time. That way, when you search your departure station and your destination, it will tell you the routes that are covered by your pass. So are they able to see the actual name on here?
No, unfortunately it's not, doesn't show it.
The app name is Japan Travel. Who's offering it is Navitime.
Again, this is the app here.
Yeah, you'll see that little logo there. Can you please clarify? Okay, that was the question. Is it recommended to purchase a round-trip ticket from Tokyo to Osaka day trip on Klook or Rail Ninja? And how much time in advance should you purchase your ticket? We're not personally familiar with Rail Ninja. We haven't used that website before. We've used Klook extensively for so many things, for train tickets, attraction tickets. And normally when you purchase a ticket for Shinkansen, it's not usually purchased as a round-trip ticket. You know, when you purchase a flight, you usually purchase your flight as round-trip, but Shinkansen, you usually purchase one direction as a ticket and going back the other direction as a ticket. And again, we have videos on how to purchase on Klook or how to purchase on SmartEX, Tokyo to Osaka. That would be SmartEX too, right?
Yes.
And we just don't have personal experience with Rail Ninja.
But as far as advance, it really depends. In general, that route, there's something like 200 trains going that route every single day, maybe even more. So it's usually pretty easy to get a ticket, especially if you're traveling non-reserved. You could even purchase up to the last minute. But our preference is always to purchase at least a day in advance.
Especially if you want a reserved seat.
Especially if you want a reserved seat, right.
Because then you'll have more chance of getting your specific train time you want. Can you talk about having to reset your IC card when you mistakenly exit a gate and need to get back in? There's train attendants at the station. Often right off to the side of the ticket gate is a little box office where there's somebody there. And if there isn't an office, there's usually an attendant just nearby in the station. So anytime we've made a mistake, we've just asked the attendant, just tried to explain, you know, I was coming from here, I was going to there, the gate's beeping at me, or I went through the wrong gate, you know, and they've always been able to help us. I'm going to Tokyo to Fukuoka one way with train. Do you recommend JR Pass or just buy a ticket? One way, just buy a ticket.
One way, buy a ticket. Even though that is quite a distance, it is still going to be more economical to just purchase a one-way ticket.
The JR Pass was really about convenience, but cost-wise now, it's not so likely to save you money anymore. I'd like to take the trip for about 3 weeks in late September to early October. It will be my first trip, but 3 weeks worth of luggage is
a lot.
A lot.
Yes,
what's the best train for luggage or place to leave it. Okay, so we made a whole series. The first video was traveling with luggage in Japan, and then we did a video on luggage delivery services, which is shipping your luggage to your hotel with Yamato Transport, and a video on storing your luggage. So if you go back to our channel, Kensho Quest, you can find those videos. 3 weeks? We travel for years at a
3
time,
months.
and I
Yeah,
pack
years,
the
yeah.
same amount. Generally, you know, if it's a 1-year trip and a 3-week trip, you might be packing about the same amount. Try to pack light. You can wash clothes. I do plan to do a video on that there are multiple ways. Hotels have washing machines, there's laundry mats. You know, if you pack 1 week's worth of clothes and you wash those clothes twice on your trip, you don't have to take a ton for 3 weeks. If you do want to ship your luggage, we have
There's a ton of options for shipping your luggage as well as storing your luggage. So we've even stored luggage in Japan for a month at Tokyo Station. So there's a ton of options. Please watch our other videos because we could just go talk
On
about
and on.
this for hours and hours and hours. But you know, as far as using public transportation, if you're going to take the Shinkansen, no problem taking your luggage on the trains. No problem at all. Even with express trains, no problem. If you're taking limousine buses, no problem.
Yeah, so Shinkansen, fine. It's more when you get into the local trains that having that luggage could be more of an issue. Arriving 8 p.m. at Haneda Airport will be too late to catch the limousine bus.
It is possible. It depends on where you're going. So again, we will link to the limousine bus website down below where you can check your times if there's still going to be a bus available for where you're going. Otherwise, the trains will still be running. You can take the monorail, and you can also take the regular KQ line out from the airport to Tokyo as well.
Based on your rush hour input, if you have a flight departing Haneda at 10 a.m. and we're in Tokyo Station, what are our options? Okay, so you're trying to get to your 10 a.m. flight. If it's an international flight, you're going to want to be there a few hours in advance. So you might want to be there at 7 a.m. What could you do from Tokyo at that time in the morning?
Take the first train if possible, or get on the train around 6 a.m. It's going to take you like 45 minutes to get to the airport. There is the KQ airport line that I don't know exactly where it goes, but it's an express line that will take you directly to Haneda Airport. So try to get on that one there. If you just did a search using Google Maps, you'll be able to see that one come up. But that would be a good way to get there.
Where can I purchase the iCoca cards? So train stations, can you also probably get it at
so,
the airport?
So you can get it at Kansai Airport. If you're flying into Kansai, I'm assuming you are since you're interested in iCoca. It's not going to be available in the Tokyo area because it is issued by JR West, which is the Kansai region, Kyoto, Osaka area. Unfortunately, yeah, so you'd have to be in that area.
Okay, so they're going to stay in Ginza, going to Disney for 1 day. Do you recommend taking all JR or Disney bus? We've taken the train to get to Tokyo Disneyland. I haven't personally taken the bus.
Yeah, we haven't taken the bus. It depends on your level of comfort, because you can certainly, a lot of people do take the buses, but we would just take the train, and it's not necessarily JR either to get to Disneyland, because there's a lot of different routes. I would just take the fastest route that you can find going using Google Maps.
Well, maybe they're talking more about an express bus if they're saying going Ginza to Disneyland. Maybe there's a special Disneyland bus. We don't have any experience with the Disneyland bus. We've taken the train to Maihama Station, which is, you can walk from there to Disneyland.
But in Ginza is not that far from Tokyo Disney, so I think that's a good starting point actually to take the train if you're interested in taking the train.
And we really like Disney Sea, which is right next door to Tokyo Disneyland.
Yeah, we like it better than Disneyland actually.
And they just opened a new section, or no, June 6th, they're opening a new section in Disney Sea, so that might be worth the visit. Yeah, you want to click that one? What's the better Uber transportation? Go? Which one you recommend? I heard transportation was going to be easier for tourism in April. Uber or?
We use GoTaxi. That is definitely the most widely available taxi app in Japan, not Uber. Uber is very limited in only certain places, and the reason why is because Japan doesn't let just anybody transport people around Japan. They have to be a registered taxi driver in order to use Uber. So because of that, GoTaxi is what is dominating, and their app is much better now, and we use it all the time. So it's very easy to install. However, if you're going to use the Go app, when you install it, if you are outside of Japan, you may not be able to fully register your account until you are actually in Japan. So take that into consideration.
I'm skipping all the ones that are about Wi-Fi, pocket Wi-Fi. Ask your question on one of those videos and we'll get back to you. I have seen your episode on Hakone. Should I purchase Hakone Free Pass first and then upgrade to Roundlands Car? Looks like cannot do it online app. Did you do it on site? Okay, so yes, I would purchase your Hakone Free Pass, and then separately you can upgrade to the Romance Car. If you want to do it online, there's an e-Romance Car website. I can leave a link to that later. But also, if you watch my video on riding express trains in Japan, I went over the 3 ways to upgrade to the Romance Car. One is on the Odakyu's e-Romance Car website. Another is from a ticket machine. Another is to go to Shinjuku Station to the Odakyu Sightseeing Service Center, and you can pay that surcharge for the Romance Car there. But you will be doing 2 separate purchases. One, purchasing your Hakone Free Pass, separately purchasing a limited express surcharge, so just that 1,200 yen for riding the Romance Car. If I'm able to link it here, I will try to link to that. Otherwise, if you check on one of my Hakone videos, I just added the link in there as well.
Okay, we're just going to answer a couple more here.
Can you update as travelers to Tokyo, Japan for paying a higher price meals in Tokyo? Is that true? What's your recommendation about this unfair charge? That might be a topic we're not so familiar with yet.
I've heard of some people complaining about this, but we've personally never seen this and don't think that we've run into this issue. So, sorry, we can't really answer that.
It looks like Klook will only let you buy Shinkansen tickets across 1 JR zone, not 2. That could be. Some people have been having issues where if you're going from one zone to the next, you need to buy one ticket and then buy a separate ticket. Sorry if you're having that issue. Maybe they don't let you buy the whole way, all as one ticket.
Thanks for the comment.
Somebody said, I was able to go to Disney Sea by bus from Yokohama. I liked it because it was nonstop, although it takes almost an hour. Thanks for letting us know. So I guess there are particular buses that you could do to get to Disneyland. How do we require Suica Pasmo for every member? Yes, each individual person must have their own Suica or Pasmo card in order to use it for transportation, because each person must tap in and tap out. So every family member, except if you have any family members who are 5 years old and younger, then they can ride for free on trains and buses with an adult. I have been lax with reservations for my trip in June. Only 1 non-hotel booked. Should I be concerned with booking trains in advance? Do they sell out for non-oversized luggage spots? So it's mostly in the really busy times of year where you need to really book your seats in advance for Shinkansen. If you're going in not so busy time of year, so I would say June is not as busy amount. And if you don't have oversized luggage, you're probably fine buying Shinkansen tickets even the day before.
Yes, but do take into consideration some routes, the trains are reserved only. So do know that, because then if that's the case, then you will have to reserve it. A good example is if you were going on the Hokuriku Arch, which starts in Tokyo and goes all the way to Kanazawa, is that some of those trains, such as the Kagayaki, is reserved only, and there's only a couple of those a day. So because of that, you want to book that in advance. Otherwise, you might get stuck on the middle seat if there's one available.
I'd be more worried about booking your hotels because not only availability, but the price really goes up the closer you get to your travel date. So I'd be more worried about booking accommodations ahead than I would be about booking train tickets ahead. I'm not sure if this was already answered. Can I use Ikoka in Tokyo trains? Yes, you can. That looks like we've reached the end of the questions that came in during the live. Again, we skipped over any ones that were off topic from public transportation in Japan. I saw quite a few in there that had to do with SIMs and Wi-Fi. Please just go and comment on one of our videos that we already have on our channel and ask your questions there, and we'll do our best to get back to those.
And also do let us know if you would like us to do a live on SIMs and eSIMs or any other topic, because we'd love to do that for you as well. And then again, on those questions, just let us know and we'll try to get to them.
Yes, please let us know in the chat box what topic you would like us to cover for the next live. It sounds like maybe Wi-Fi is the topic for the next one, but let us know if you have any other topics. We try our best to respond to comments. Always try to leave your own fresh new comment on a video. When people put their comments as a sub-comment replying to somebody else's comment, we often don't get any notification and we don't see those. So if you want to ask us a question, please put a brand new comment on a video, and we try our best to get back to as many of those as we can.
Yes. And we just want to say thanks again for all the very nice comments that we got today. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for tuning in. And again, please let us know what live topic you would be interested in next.
Yes, thank you for those of you who gave super thanks or just commented to say thank you that our videos were helpful. We really appreciate that. We didn't pull every single one up onto the screen just for time's sake. We were trying to get through this. It's already been over an hour here that we've been on the live.
2. All right.
Okay.
Mahalo, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in the next one.
Thank you so much. Please subscribe to Kensho Quest.
Bye. Oops.
You gotta turn it off.
Where'd my button go?
Is it that green record thing up there that you need to hit?